Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to our latest episode of A Candle of the Night, an actual play Star Wars adventure using Fantasy Flight Games' Force and Destiny game system. Thanks for your patience on posting this next episode. We were traveling to Scotland, just got back, and we are back on track with episode number 18, where our party is infiltrating the Arakyd headquarters. If you'd like to watch the video footage of the show, which includes the game board and rolls and such, you can find a link to our YouTube channel on our website, www.candleofthenight.com. As always, we welcome your comments and emails. You can shoot us a message at feedback@candleofthenight.com. If you are enjoying the show, please leave us a review on iTunes. We appreciate it. And now, without further delay, enjoy the show. All right, so is everybody connected and in good shape? Everyone can hear me?
Do we need to roll Destiny points?
Yes, I would like us all to start by rolling a Force dice so we can construct the Destiny pool. And we start off with dark side points. Tyrus rocking the light side points. Wow, you guys are just giving me so many dark side points to work with.
We're all gonna die.
I can feel some crits coming on.
We're gonna die.
We still
He's
have...
like, I'll give you your 2 and take my 4.
Well, we're still waiting on Sarah.
You're using your sexy
Barry
radio
White.
voice.
It's Barry White, the Godfather of Soul.
You sound like Bob Ross.
I would like to hit him
Happy trees, happy trees.
lightsaber.
How's our,
It's a
I love
paintbrush
Bob
with a
Ross.
Valium
Wait,
dispenser.
Don't get me wrong.
I'll be
We need
Wookiee
force
teaser.
dice from Sarah.
You need what?
Force dice.
Oh, one Force dice to give us a Destiny pool because they've been feeding me dark side points.
Well, don't ask me to give you a light side point. I've rolled 1.
Yeah, she doesn't do this very well.
Oh, thank you, Jensa.
You're welcome.
So we're all
Also,
gonna die.
Albie, in a microcosm of my life, I have unresolved conflict.
Ooh, delicious. Okay, I think you're the only one with unresolved conflict, right?
Jinza has conflict, but it's all self-inflicted.
Let's see.
Is Bior with us?
Actually, yeah, Jensa, you have conflict, right? And
Oh, I think I do, yeah.
you do, and Tyrus. So both of you roll me the D10. That's the one right next to the vehicle critical.
I don't remember if high or low is good.
Okay, so Tyrus, you had 1 conflict and you rolled 3, so your morality goes up by 1?
I'm sorry, goes up by how many?
1. I adjusted that for you. And then Jensa rolled a 6 and she had 2 conflict, so your conflict goes up by 2. I mean, your morality goes up by 2. All right, so we'll do our recap then. All right, so recap of session 17. The party traveled on the Errant Seeker in hyperspace towards the Sembla system. The plan was to infiltrate the top-secret Arakyd droid facility and recover the stolen Remus droid tech, as well as wipe the computer core clean of schematics. Jensa takes a quiet moment in her quarters to reflect on her feelings for Sirocco, Jagasan's unusual relic weapon. She remains distinctly ill at ease about the relic inside, the Ember of Aranth, which she witnessed in her dream of Jagasan's past. Although the weapon was crafted from a powerful Force relic which responds only to those who walk a path free of religious dogma, Jensa doubts the apparent definition of freedom the relic supports. She deeply suspects, based on her personal interpretation of the dream, that the weapon is tainted by the dark side. She shuns it and refuses to carry it. While meditating together in the lounge of the ship, Bior cautiously mentions to Jensa's shock that he shared in her dream vision of Jagasan and his legendary weapon. Bior communicates that he feels an inexpressible connection to it and its symbolism. He argues that Jensa may have misinterpreted what they both witnessed, and that Jagasan turned away from both the Jedi Order and the Sith, and that he even destroyed a Sith Lord. Bior feels confident the weapon is not tainted with the dark side, but rather speaks to one who walks the path of the lone warrior. In a surprising moment, Bior uses the Force to snatch the weapon from Jensa's hand, and Jensa immediately reaches for her blaster. To everyone's surprise, Sirocco instantly responds to Bior, flaring to life. The blade, previously modified by Kip, mysteriously reverts itself back to the glowing plasma blade that it originally was. The change seemed fueled by the Force rather than by mechanical modification. There was an incredibly tense moment between Jensa and Bior before Victor diffuses the situation. A call comes through the comms from Geleth, and he tells the party that intelligence suggests the facility might have a sturdy fail-safe blast door in the computer core. He gives the party a tip on a Wookiee mercenary and demolitions expert who they can contact in the Sembla system named Ishwar. Upon landing at the space station around Sembla, the party rendezvous with Ishwar. In an awkward exchange in the cantina, Vic learns how poorly Wookiees take to losing after beating Ishwar in a game of sabacc by cheating. After diffusing the situation, Ishwar agrees to join the party on the mission for a price. The errant seeker leaves the station and heads to the surface of the planet. The facility is hidden in a dense maelstrom. Jensa deceives the landing control personnel that the party was given some stolen tech from a shady Rhodian named Grak Halik that Arakyd had done business with in the past. The ruse seems to work as the party is cleared to land on the outer pad. In the churning storm, as the welcoming party walks towards the ship, realization sets in that the true test of the party's cunning now begins. And we will open it up here. You guys are on board the ship. You are aware that a welcoming party is walking towards you down a long, extended platform. On either side of that platform are the churning seas and the storm. There is no other way towards the building than towards the welcoming party.
I'm gonna hide myself in the refresher and suggest that we may also, if you're going on the more subtle endeavors, that you may want to hide yourself in the ship, or at least not be obvious.
I kind of look at Tyrus and say, good luck.
Ishwar simply walks right up to the loading platform exit and waits.
Can we do either a vigilance check or a perception check?
You absolutely can. Tell me what you're trying to perceive.
I'd like to have an idea. As a negotiator, I always want to know who will be across the table from me, so I'm desperate to know more about who these guys are that are coming towards us.
Now, given that they are still only about a quarter of the way down the long platform, still reasonably far away from you, and the weather conditions are terrible, it's going to be an average perception check, but you're going to be rolling 2 setback dice. 2 black dice at that. Please recall, if you have any abilities that modify that, let me know.
Yes, I believe that I remove 1 setback dice because I'm keen-eyed.
Keen-eyed. Okay, keen-eyed Tyrus, eliminate 1 of those setback dice.
And I'm sorry, that was a vigilance check or a perception?
Perception.
Nice.
I think I forgot to
Okay,
add
you
the
roll a
difficult.
success and 2 advantage. So what you notice in front of you is you see a tall human woman dressed in what would be considered a typical business attire. She's flanked on either side by guards in a light type of armor. Has kind of a goldish color to it. There's black accents on the armor. They're both armed with blaster pistols, and they're not drawing their weapon, but they're walking towards you, sort of vigilant. Given the rough conditions, they're kind of carrying these sort of, as I described last time, kind of these sort of force field umbrellas that kind of
The
project.
most awesome umbrella ever.
Yeah, a small sort of blue honeycomb kind of force field over them and a small dome. And the woman is unarmed. She has eyes forward and she's scrutinizing the ship. You can tell there is some kind of thing on her chest that might be a name tag, but you can't possibly read it from this distance.
One moment, please.
Kip walks up, but he keeps about a pace behind Tyrus's left shoulder, as if he's following.
That's why I'll take his right shoulder.
Can I use a force sense thoughts at this point, or have I already used my maneuver?
Let me remind myself real fast about the sense thoughts. Control sense current thoughts of the engaged target. Actually, well, let me do this. Anybody else want to act first before Tyrus does that?
Nope.
No, I'm hiding.
All right, Tyrus, roll me 2 force dice given your current force rating of 2.
My enormous forehead. Go ahead and say it.
Your enormous gleaming forehead. All right, you rolled 2 light side points. Very good. So activating your force sense power, you can spend those 2 light side points to both sense. So within short range, you sense that these are the only 3 life forms around you as you reach out to the forest. And as you focus your mind specifically on which individual, the woman walking in the center?
Most definitely.
You can tell, you sense in her emotional state a distinct unease, as if she's not where she particularly wants to be at the moment, and having to do what she's currently doing this moment only adds to that discomfort. Bior, where are you at this particular moment?
I'm kind of out of sight, trying to be I'm just trying to hide.
Are you in view of anything that's going on outside at the moment?
No, if I have a view, it's a tiny view. I'm just trying to stay out of the way.
Okay. So Tyrus, that is what you sense off of her. At this point, they are about 3/4 of the way to the front of the ship, to the gangplank that the ship has lowered down.
Can I tell in her thought whether she's simply there to meet us, or is she there to make a decision?
If I interpret correctly, I think you can sense current thoughts. Okay, so she is there to greet you / figure out what you're up to.
And I look over to Kip. How is he dressed?
Kip, describe for us what you look like.
So, actually, Victor is the one who created the outfit. Victor, do you want to describe what you created for Kip?
Yeah, absolutely. So he has a helmet on. It's 2-way. It's kind of like a chrome mirrored finish on the front, but Kip can see through it without any kind of issue, but it's solid in the back. And his disguise is kind of modeled after Sky's form as best as they could pull it off, which is he looks human, but it's made such that he has the appearance of a cyborg that was intended to look as human as possible. and he has illuminated wiring and circuitry, as well as I believe we had some highlighted paints and dyes that we could make schematic type markings on him. And we've integrated various droid pieces into his ensemble. Various robotic accoutrements.
And just to add one thing that either on the back of the helmet or on the back, on whatever sort of robotic component we have on his back, we created something that could that the faux tech that I created could plug into. So that was the whole point of that.
Correct.
And Kip, the faux tech that you created, does it have any particularly outstanding features?
So it is roughly palm-sized. It looks like it actually was modeled off of one of the sides of the holocron. So it looks, I would say, it's sort of like a blue like glass or crystalline structure with circuitry sort of almost like embedded in it, not organically. It doesn't look organic, but it looks like this thing is a sort of a next level tech, right? So it's not like this thing grew. I don't want it to sound like it's organic, but it looks like something that's just not on the market, and that's what it looks like. So there's sort of circuitry with sort of blue glass that sort of accentuates its sort of sleek design.
Good. You've given me a lot to work with.
And at this point, the welcoming party closes the distance, and they're standing about 5 feet in front of where the gangplank touches the extended landing walkway. You see the woman step forward about 1 pace in front of the 2 armed guards. They currently have their hand right over their blaster, but not pulling them out. And she looks up the gangway at you, Tyrus, and says, "You are visiting a closed facility. How may I help you?" And as she says this, you can see almost like a twinkle of interest in her eyes. Something about you, Tyrus, piques her interest.
And to whom am I speaking?
Well, it's customary when addressing a lady to introduce oneself, but I guess I'll go first. I'm Rena Vereth. I'm currently serving as the CFO for this facility, Chief Financial Officer, that is. We are currently amidst some corporate inner dealings, and we're not expecting guests. So unless you have an excellent reason to be here, it would probably be ideal if you do us the kindness to depart.
Miss Vereth, I always have a very good reason for being anywhere that I am.
You see her regard you up and down for a moment. In particular, your eyes kind of linger on your clothing and attire, your cloak. Roll for me an average vigilance check, please.
I get an extra boost on vigilance checks for uncanny reaction.
Very good. You feel free to add that. Okay, you have rolled 3 successes and 1 advantage. So Tyrus, you, as you watch her gaze, you can see as she settles on particularly your attire, she appreciates it. You gather or have some insight into her that she is a woman who appreciates fine things, and your esteem in her eyes has been raised by the way in which you clothe and present yourself. Your next social interaction with her of any kind will get a boost dice as a result of the advantage that you rolled.
Miss Vareth, haven't we met before?
Not that I can recall, although frankly in my line of work, I have the pleasure of dealing with your people quite often.
A woman of your caliber in such a position of authority, I assumed you'd been at a Immune conference, but somehow I think we've done business in the past.
I never forget a face. You and I have not, although I'm hoping you might have some business to present me with, because if I go back in there without something interesting, you will not be coming in. And while we're on that topic, who else do you have aboard, please? For security reasons, it's important we know what to expect.
Ms. Vareth, as you know, my people are businessmen, reasonable people, always interested in a fair deal for everyone. We happen to come into possession of a very interesting piece of technology, something that Mr. Gillith Hawk would probably find quite interesting. We thought there might be some interested parties here at the station who perhaps would like to share in this technology.
When you mention Gellith's name, you can kind of tell her suspicion level ratchets up for a moment as she takes a step backwards and obscures herself behind one of the guards. And she lifts her wrist to her mouth for a moment and mutters something, presumably into a comlink, and then steps forward again. Please clarify to me who is aboard your ship. We'd like to register the guests and welcome you into the facility.
Of course.
I suggest you leave your weapons behind, however.
Of course, please forgive my rudeness. To my left is Ishwar, our pilot. He doesn't talk much.
She
also
looks
here,
at the Wookiee for a second, and you can tell she's visibly unsettled as she raises her gaze, to his full height, and in particular lays her eyes on the vibro axe slung on his back. And the two guards kind of take a nervous step around, like they're not entirely comfortable.
To my right is a simple droid, X9350, but he possesses special gifts that perhaps your company would find as interesting as I do.
Very well. Are there any others who choose to enter?
You can just
On a ship this small, do you think I would share my quarters with anyone?
No,
they
Tyrus.
talked to me in the control tower, so I mean they know that there's a female on the ship. Just reminding you, since it was last week.
Where's the captain?
Staying on the ship.
Out of character. Forgive me for this. Oh, the female.
Why is everyone in the universe sexist? Can we have gender equality somewhere?
The Immune are not about equality for anybody.
I know, but you're talking to a woman, just point of case.
Well, I'm secretly thinking that Jens is probably going to be pulling that carbine, and this time it's going to be aimed at me later in the game. But
just the lasers on the ship just point at the back of your head.
I always assumed she would shoot me first, but
I was confused as to why he was described as the pilot when he's carrying weapons.
All right. Anyway,
I forgot that they knew Jens.
Clarify that for me. Are you presenting Ishwar as the pilot?
No, he's not, because he knows that I talked to the control tower.
Well,
the captain's staying on board, yes.
He is a Wookiee, but when he speaks, he uses a female dialect vocally.
It's got a very effeminate voice.
I just got the most frightful mental image
he makes
of a cross-dressing Wookiee.
in something clingy.
Oh, totally.
When you
Just
get a
You'll never
voice
get the fur
processor
out.
from Charleston, South
no, I
Carolina,
meant
you're
like
going to
the-
sound like
the-
Charleston, South Carolina's.
The hair plastered to the tight spandex. Ooh.
You know,
All right.
he is
They know I'm on the ship.
he is a bodyguard by skill.
I'm buying him an epilady.
That's gonna hurt.
So you
a
see,
lot of work.
you see Rena tapping her chin with her finger as she kind of grows slightly impatient. Tyrus, your retinue.
Oh,
follow us, please.
there is a female. I believe she assists the Wookiee. I don't know. I stay out of the bridge. My position is really more in the lounge.
She whips around when you say that and looks towards you and says, "A female." Tyrus, are you referring to your captain? If so, I suggest you address her with greater respect. Now follow me,
Duly
please.
noted.
Okay, so
on this
who
ship,
is?
I'm powering down like I was previously instructed. I'm turning off everything they wanted.
So okay, weapon systems deactivated. You're leaving your internal power on,
Yeah, of course.
lighting and such. Okay.
Yeah, and I want to talk to the orb while I'm alone, but that's not necessarily important at this moment at all. So go ahead. Just letting you know I am turning down the weapon system.
Tyrus, she beckons you forward along with your droid and your Wookiee.
So at this point, I might want to use a force ability.
Elaborate.
I want to use the influence basic power.
Okay, tell me what your intention is, what you're trying to do.
This is clearly a woman that's drawn to me somehow, as unbelievable as that may seem. And I want her to think to herself, this is a deal that could make me a fortune. This is a man who clearly is in charge. I need to sell this to my company, as this is clearly my ticket.
Okay, as a GM aside, I will tell you, given that she's greater than a minion, she will have an opportunity for a discipline roll against you. Not that I'm.
But do I get
saying you shouldn't do
a
that, but-
boost? Does this count as a social thing where I get a boost from my previous advantage?
In this case, it would. Yes, you'd be able to use that boost dice that you earned before. So let's start.
I'll
if
show
you're
a
going
little
to do
cleavage.
that
It'll be fun.
by
Show a
roll
little
four-
forehead.
Yeah.
Is there a choice?
Stroke your forehead and roll me 2 force dice. Okay, you rolled 2 light side points and a dark side point. That should be more than enough to activate. Let's see, you're using the basic power, influence. We have give positive emotions. That's your basic power. Control number 1. Okay, so you have 2 light side points so that you can use your control upgrade, allowing you to make an opposed discipline versus discipline check to force her into a certain emotional state or believe something false. So you're going to be rolling your discipline skill with 2 purple, 1 red, and your boost dice.
Is there any way for me to use coercion to assist them or no?
Ooh, that's confusing.
That is fascinating. Okay, you rolled no net
Does her
success.
head explode?
You rolled no net success or failure, 1 advantage, a triumph, and a despair. So, as you do this, Tyrus, you find a resistance to your attempt, and you seem to be unable to sort of send the emotional state that you intend to. And normally, I think at this point, she'd be aware of you attempting to somehow tamper with her. However, as she might kind of turn to react or investigate out of alarm, out of this sense that she's kind of experiencing sort of mental invasion, she swoons for a moment and kind of takes a step to the side like she's going to faint. And one of the guards actually dives down and scoops her up as she comes dangerously close to toppling over the side of the walkway there into the stormy seas. And as he does that, the other guard looks to you for a second, but before he can even process it, the first guard who's holding her says, "Help me out here." And he pick her up for a minute, and they're sort of paying attention to her and tending to her. And she shakes her head for a moment and looks, I haven't eaten all day, I apologize. And she stands and kind of spends a moment to like meticulously right her clothing and sort of smooth out any creases, and she looks visibly embarrassed. And the guards kind of just, look to her, verify if she's okay, and she nods and kind of waves them away, so they stand back beside her again. And she says, "Excuse me, let's get out of this weather. Please, follow me."
What kind of weapons are these guards carrying?
All you can see on them at the moment are blaster pistols.
Okay.
So just to clarify, as we were walking up this pathway, and I'm looking at my colleagues, Ishwar has movability in a fairly substantial way.
I mean,
I'm not sure your character would know that, though, would they?
Yeah. You would
My character receives emails, but I'm just judging.
Oh,
This guy looks like.
If you were to sense force, you would sense a little about him, but he only has 1 force power. So he would have
receives emails.
Yeah, out of character, if he rolled a double force dice, he would be able to manipulate objects at a distance.
Things would happen.
Yeah.
And Albie, is there any way I can roll an education check to see if my minor in Wookiee from college is still active?
If you're asking for linguistics, no, at the moment, none of you speak. Help me out with the name of their language again. Siriwak?
Shiriwook.
Shiriwook. Thank you. None of you at the moment speak Shiriwook.
And if we were to try to acquire language, how do you do that?
What I would do for learning a language is, if you have some sort of source, you can make a series of education checks in between games, and after a certain number of successes, you would learn the language. Consider it like a downtime learning thing. So between sessions or something, I'd have you roll at the end of a session, and once you get a certain number of successes, you would know the language.
Good to know.
I'd like to take a moment to inquire, aside from Kip and Ishwar, is anyone else deboarding the ship at the moment?
I'm staying on the ship.
Negative.
Okay.
I am not deboarding at the moment.
Okay, and the guards turn, she turns, and you begin walking down the long walkway towards the facility. There's a large entrance there. I am going to put up a map.
As they are moving away from the ship, I am going to sneak up towards the cockpit, which I'm not 100% sure of the positioning of the ship, but I'm going to try and use the macro binoculars to case the facility. And so I would like to make a skullduggery attempt to infiltrate a secure facility, and at this time kind of identify where the access points, where are the security measures, are there patrols, are they patterned, what's the best way in?
Okay, let's start then. Let's first start with a perception check. You'll get 2 boost dice for using the macro binoculars. The difficulty at the moment, wow. Okay, well, we didn't roll difficulty dice.
3 successes, 4 advantages, a triumph. How many difficulty dice? I can roll them separately.
Okay, you're going to be rolling 2 difficulty dice, and wait 1 second.
Slow down, bro.
We're doing all these like piecemeal. And due to the weather conditions, there'd be 1 setback dice. So now we just have to cancel out all those results. Okay.
Okay.
1 setback dice. Okay.
So I ended up getting 1 advantage, 2 successes, and a triumph.
Okay. So, as you examine the facility, and I assume at this point you're coming towards the gangplank so that you can kind of get a view with the binoculars.
If I can look out of the windows from the cockpit, that would be...
Yes, you could actually,
preferred.
yes, you could absolutely do that. Okay, so as you survey the facility, what you note is there's sort of a large single entrance door, large enough in particular to house, to even let a small vehicle in. Other than that, it's mostly windows on elevated levels. There's a sort of large central dome with a kind of spire on it and a large communications array to the side of that. The sides of the building are smooth as glass. There's very few attachment points. You do notice, interestingly, there are no turbo laser emplacements that are visible to you at the moment. And your estimation of the external defenses are fairly unimpressive. The thing that perhaps also catches your attention of interest is on the upper levels as you are examining in the windows. You notice a very unusual figure striding by on the second level through these grand kind of rectangular large windows that are strewn, sort of like a gallery on the second level. He, as far as you could tell, he kind of has a feline-esque appearance to him. There's like fur on his face, and he's in a long black trench coat. And he's addressing another gentleman, and they're seeming to have a heated discussion. And as you're peering through the binoculars at this sort of brief exchange as they're striding across the gallery, you see the gentleman, the feline gentleman in the trench coat, turn and spin on the executive in a business suit and move his hand forward. And you see the executive slam against the wall backwards, and he drops all the papers he was carrying. And there's a moment of great tension, and then the gentleman in the business suit kind of picks up his papers, and they start walking again towards one side of the gallery. And he keeps his head down, seemingly cowed into submission.
Interesting. Are there any non-entrances, like maybe a waste or a disposal line, like a spillway? Are there any kind of cargo hangars that they use to bring in supplies that are not necessarily the front door? Or are there any fire escapes or other access points that's not the front door?
Not that you can see, no.
Okay. So, with that observation, may I attempt now the skullduggery to confirm the front door is the best way, as well as to use the patterns of the watch in any kind of patrols or spotlights they may have to determine the best time to enter.
Yes.
Using the weather, I think, is the best bet. DC is 2 diff.
Yeah, you would have 2 difficulty dice for this. You rolled 3
Alright, so-
success and a threat. Okay. So, in your professional estimation, there are no obvious alternate forms of entrance. The stormy conditions and the numerous windows and vantage points with posted sort of guard stations would make it hard to enter through any other way than the walkway without risking detection. You do have the advantage, however, it is night and in the storm, so your stealth conditions would be favorable.
And With that, I will approach Bior. I'll just give him a tap. I will give him the rundown that we're going to have to go in through the front door. We're going to have to use the weather as cover. We can move on flashes of lightning, and hopefully Tyrus is interesting enough that the entire facility is watching him. It's not going to be easy. Let me go first. I'll signal when you're ready to come in.
Hey guys,
I hope you're ready.
be careful, please.
I smile, and I say, it's not like I've never done this before.
Okay, well, just try not to bang up my new ship, but somehow in the process. I
offer Jinsa the macro binoculars, and I point kind of next to her head in the line to look, and I say,
look.
There's an interesting figure up there. There was a heated discussion. Maybe keep an eye on it. I described the feline businessman that I saw, explain the situation. And I also point to my comms and I say, if we need to bail, let us know.
Will do.
On our way in, can I try to perceive any defenses that we walk by?
By the way, can I confirm everyone can see the map that I put up?
Confirmed.
Very good. I put your tokens on there. Probably you can't see the entirety of the map if I'm correct, but verify that for me if you would.
Verified.
Can do that.
Very good. Okay. Ishwar, you're perceiving for any external defenses?
Yeah, as I'm walking down, just trying to keep my eyes open.
Okay, okay, so what we'll do is, if you're looking for something right now, roll a perception, and I'd give you the difficulty. If you're just trying to remain alert, I'll have you roll a vigilance check in the event anything comes up.
Yeah, I'm just trying to keep alert. Like when we get closer to the facility, I'm going to probably actively look at the defense systems, but for now, I'll just kind of keep my eyes open.
Okay, Bior, where are you?
I don't know if this is a stretch, but is it possible that my knowledge of warfare might help us out in getting into this building?
Not at the moment.
All right. Well, in that case, I'm still in the ship waiting for the signal to go.
Okay, are you in view of any of your teammates on the gangplank, on the walkway?
Well, now that they're walking away, yeah, I peek out a little bit just to get an understanding of what we're getting into.
Could you roll for me a hard vigilance check with 1 black setback dice? You rolled 3 failures. Nothing strikes you as worth noting.
Kip would be scanning the just to see what type of what he can discern of the technology used for the door, the security system, whatever. I assume that this is something that Jagasan and all his former pirate owners would have taught him to do, sort of see what they have available that I can eventually exploit later.
Okay, using just your perception?
Well, that's what would you like me to roll? So it's mechanics, it's perception, it's vigilance. I have no clue what to roll.
At the moment, just perception.
Okay, got it. Hang on. Okay.
And it's average difficulty. and one
that's
setback
one?
dice.
Is that one?
That is
dice?
2 purple dice, 1 black dice.
And 1 setback dice? Okay.
Correct. You roll 1 threat. You don't notice anything of use at the moment.
Okay.
Give me just 1 second. So as you walk up to the entrance, you see the 2 guards press some buttons on some wrist devices that they have, and you hear a very loud, kind of deep metal locking release as the door slides open, and you walk into a hallway. Feel free to move your tokens in position behind your escort. You pass another guard there, and by the way, if you guys don't know how the map scrolling works, there's a little gray box in the lower right corner. You can press on it with the left click and move your mouse, and you'll be able to scroll around the map. And you see Rena.
I accidentally closed mine. How do I get the map back up?
It should come back up, but it's in your images tab, just in case you need to find it
If you
again.
left click and pull back down, you can find yourself again. I got lost.
So as you move down the hall,
As they're walking to the door, I am going to attempt to rely on my force abilities to come down the gangplank unidentified. I have 2 ranks of sleight of mind, and I also have misdirect. I'm going to use that as well as the cloak of the weather to gain entry before the door shuts.
remind me how that works again, sleight of mind and all
So
that.
sleight of mind is basically a force power that gives me boost to my stealth. People they just kind of ignore me. I get an extra boost dice for every rank on a stealth check.
Okay, so
And
if you're making a stealth skill check to traverse the pad, it is actually just going to be average difficulty, and you're going to get 4 boost dice, actually, partly for the weather conditions in the darkness, and the others because most of the attention is on the party that is walking in the front door and that has already entered.
So is it 4 boost dice, then plus 2 for sleight of mind, or is it 2
Yes,
plus
and then
sleight of mind?
whatever normal bonuses you would get.
Good lord.
Thank
I
God
rolled
for
4
some extra dice.
successes and 2 advantages.
It's a boost pinata.
Can I use my advantage in this case to appropriately signal Bior at the right time and thus give him additional boost to his stealth?
That sounds good.
Yes, I would allow you to give him a boost dice on his stealth. You use a series of hand gestures with, thankfully, Bior's background in military issues has caused him to be able to recognize some common sort of maneuvers, sort of hand signal maneuvers, so he will kind of follow your lead.
As we were entering, we haven't noticed any kind of like cameras or security turrets or something like that.
Yes, you can readily see there are a number of cameras on the wall, actually. Their particular locations correspond on the map to mostly all of the door positions, corners of doors. There are cameras set. Typically, anywhere you'd see red dots on the map. There's sort of 360-degree bubble cameras that are kind of surveying the scene.
Is Bior hanging back on the ship?
No, I'm running up with Victor.
Bior, make
move
your
your-
stealth check, please. Did you already do that?
I didn't. It's how much difficulty?
The difficulty is it's average two purple dice. You get a free boost dice from Victor, and then any other natural sort of boosts you get if you have talents or anything for that.
You said one boost dice, right?
One boost dice from Victor.
Let me know if I need to make a vigilance check. Jinsa is definitely watching the building while she
Wow.
talks to the little AI.
All right, so you rolled 2 failures
That
and
is-
5 advantage.
Wow.
So as you're
I wanna
crossing,
do this.
as you're crossing
That's
the
confusing.
gangway, you slip on the wet conditions. You stumble and fall, and you drop actually your weapon, which clatters to the deck and slides precariously, almost teetering off the edge of the walkway. However, you dive for it and manage to swoop it up in your hand. You make a terrible racket, however. Interestingly, at the moment, though, there's no real response. You don't see any guards come out. Victor, who's standing at the doorway, and he's in view of a guard that's just standing post inside, unable to seemingly hear anything because he didn't move a muscle.
Oh, okay, so he's not cursing me.
Victor, what are you doing when you see this?
So my immediate reaction would be to use misdirect to hide via the force, but I also wish to reach out with my force senses to determine if that's a real living person. Is it a real boy?
Is what a real living person? The guard standing
The
there?
guard.
Yes, a real living person.
He's not reacting at all.
Not at all.
Maybe it's
Better
this-
for us.
Is it just one guard?
At the moment, just one guard standing there. Now, I'm assuming that you haven't walked in full view of the doorway. Correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, if you just walked right into the hallway, I would change my answer. But
I am relying on my previous success in skullduggery to successfully infiltrate in an appropriate manner. So no, I'm not walking out with my hands astride. Just like, look at me now. I am taking every effort to sneak in.
okay, so you're standing at the doorway, not yet in actual view of what's going on in the hallway. Bior kind of rights himself and stands up and gets his stuff together, and
Yeah.
scampers up
I
behind
believe
you.
at this time, I'm double checking. I think I can use misdirect on another person to hide them.
Let's see. Make a single target at up to short range be unable to perceive a chosen person or object. It works on objects. It works on having them not notice objects as well. So yeah.
Yes. So, and that should hide him. That's my plan. So I'm going to use a force dice.
Go ahead and roll your force ability check. Your force power check. You rolled 2 light side points. Very good.
Yeah. Bior.
So you
Score that.
easily.
Sweet.
Please describe for us how this looks when you're doing this. I'm very interested to hear what you look like when you're doing this.
I see Bior begin to spill, and I lower my head, close my eyes, and rub my temples, and I say, "Oh, dear Lord, oh God, don't let him be seen. Just don't let him be seen." And then I kind of quiet myself and do some of the breathing routines I had previously
Just
discussed
learn
with Jinsa.
Take the wheel, Jesus.
And I'm thinking to myself, Force, if you can hear me, just cover that one up. Just whitewash that one.
And
I get up and I'm like, Victor, I can still see you.
your shit don't work,
I
Victor. I can
quickly
still
look
see it.
around as if I heard something say something, but I didn't see or hear it. So I
And
guess I
Bior,
heard
what
it.
do you do now?
After I tell him that, I'm just. Can I see him? I can still see him, right? It's only the
hiding
enemy
you.
that can't see us.
Correct. You're actually you probably, Bior, you could probably feel a tingle over yourself. You'd probably feel a light touch of the the Force, I'm not sure you'd necessarily be aware that you were a blind spot to your enemy at the moment.
And I could see the enemy?
No, from your vantage point, you can't. You can only see the doorway and Victor crouching to the side of it, attempting to be stealthy.
Well, I'm just assuming that maybe he helped me get my weapon, or the doors are staying open because of him, because I could perceive that he's using the Force. So I'm like, whatever you're doing, Victor, keep doing it.
As you guys do that, you see Rena guide you into a waiting area. And she says, please have a seat. I need to have a discussion with Mr. Mech. We'll be along to collect you in a moment.
To which I say, Mr. Mech?
Yes, Jeldorn Mech. He's our chief operational officer in this facility. Nothing goes on here without his awareness. In particular, highly unorthodox arrangements such as these. Have a seat, she says with a much harder edge on her voice.
Miss Rena, I assumed you were in charge. Intriguing.
Far from it. I try to stay away from here if I can, to be honest.
Does Kip recognize any of these people as Red Dawn or Red? Is that what they're called? Red Dawn?
Crimson Dawn? No.
Crimson Dawn. Thank you.
No, none of these
Same
people look
difference.
familiar to you.
Wasn't that a Patrick Swayze movie?
Yes,
You
it was
know it.
awesome. Go Wolverines! But
Who's the character in this room with us? What do we see before us?
There is basically a attendant there who probably is some form of secretary. He's walked in front of the desk just to kind of gather some items on the desk and arrange things. And he asks you each to sign in. There's a data pad on the desk there. As he does that, you see Rena and the guards kind of walk off down the hall and out of sight as the door to the waiting area closes.
Kip Droid neither sits down or attempts to sign.
Yeah, Ishwar doesn't want to sign this guest.
The attendant at the desk says, please sign in. It's a matter of procedure.
I'm going to immediately invoke the sense thought.
And Ishwar is going to attempt to coerce her into not letting him sign this thing.
Okay, let's resolve each thing in turn. Tyrus, you are
Sure.
activating a force power, so roll for me a 2 force dice. You rolled 1 light side point and 1 dark side point. Are you trying to... Okay, so to sense thoughts, you will need 2 points to activate it, which would require you to use that dark side point. Is that okay with you?
Have you met my character?
Very well.
Yeah.
Add 1 strain to your character sheet. I will add 1 conflict. You reach out with the force again. This time, at this point, you're mildly irritated with the formality and perhaps the slight feeling of disrespect that you're not being received with perhaps more grandeur. And almost in a game-ish sort of way, you delve into the mind of this poor employee at the front desk. And as you sift through the thoughts and feelings, you can kind of detect that this is extreme boredom. It's probably been working for maybe 12 hours straight on this shift, and there has been nothing going on in this facility. You can hear him sort of thinking, I've got to get out of here. I'm supposed to be off tomorrow. This place sucks. And then he kind of like regards you guys with disgust. Like, you know, all I want to do is end this miserable shift, and these assholes are just going to make my life difficult.
And they don't pay him enough to deal with Ishwar, so
And now Ishwar, as the attendant is sort of rolls his eyes and is insistent to have you guys sign
does he
in.
understand Shiriwook?
Well, you're gonna make a coercion check. So tell me what you're gonna do.
Can we give him a boost?
He just bats it away and basically just hollers at him in Shiriwook and just gives him that intimidating look, like you can't make me do that.
Okay, roll coercion with average difficulty.
Okay, and which is 2 what?
Average means 2 purple dice, 2 difficulty dice.
2 of those plus my coercion, which I think I can just drop right there.
You roll a success and 2 advantage. So
Yeah, finally somebody wins.
as you roar outward, and you can kind of like your teammates can kind of feel a vibration in their chest as you roar. They've probably never really fully seen you do this. The attendant falls backwards with such panic and unexpected discomfort that he falls backward over the chair and lands prone. The data pad sort of goes sliding off the side. And Victor and Bior, you notice the guard that was posted towards the door turns to walk away. And he comes into the room and he says, "What's going on here?"
I will take that opportunity when it knocks, and I will continue to stealth.
Give me an easy vigilance check, please.
I'm following Victor.
Nice.
Okay, so you instantly notice before you take a one step into the room that there are standard issue security cameras up on the edges of the door frame. And right as you're about to plant your foot on the inside, you freeze and reassess the moment. And that means you can choose to continue with what you were doing entering or make a different decision.
Well, I presume the cameras are being watched by a bank of security footage that is being assessed by an individual. So I am going to rapidly move past the footage, and a sleight of hopefully will prevent, and the Force will ensure that he is not looking at the camera at the moment I slip through. But disabling, I guess the other option Victor would weigh is disabling the cameras, and that's a horrible idea. Then you have a trail. So I will try and move with the storm, and as quickly as possible enter and exit the field of view of the camera. And put it in Force, take the wheel.
Bior, are you following him in?
Hold on, because I'm not going to be able to do that.
Well, with regards to misdirect, it's an effect that can only be done on someone that you can see in short range at the moment. So a faceless, mysterious person sort of in a viewing chamber somewhere, you would not really be able to influence them, not knowing who they are or where they are. But you are able to step...
I think I target Bior.
Oh,
but I'm not a master of this, and sleight of mind doesn't require a target at all. It's just a boost to my stuff.
Oh, sleight of mind. I'm sorry. I thought we were using misdirect for that.
I'm using misdirect on Bior and sleight of mind on me, but misdirect...
Okay, so you're relying on your stealth skills. Okay, so you are in
Yes.
You're in a far corner around the edge of the room that you feel confident is not immediately in the field of view of the camera. Bior?
What is my difficulty?
At the moment, none. I'm not requiring another roll because of your previous success. So you're just moving into an area right by the door that you feel confident you can't be seen.
Oh, then I follow right behind him.
So as you both are kind of poised in the corner, not sensing anyone else's presence, the door slides closed. The hallway is quiet. Moving back to the waiting room, the attendant stands himself up and quickly goes to move behind the desk. And the guard says, what's this disturbance in here? What the hell's going on?
Ishwar attempts to explain in Shiriwook that he's not writing down anything that will leave a register of his name.
The hell is this beast saying?
Yes. Okay, good. Yeah.
He looks to you, Tyrus. He just looks right past the android and the droid and the Wookiee and says, I don't know what the hell game you're playing, but you're gonna follow procedure. Stand over here, sign in, don't make any disturbance.
So Tyrus raises an eyebrow and just says, you were speaking to a Wookiee, and that I'd like to use a coercion check with a destiny point.
Okay. Describe your coercion and go ahead and roll. In this case, it's 2 purple dice. And since you're using a destiny point, you can hit the little green plus to upgrade your skill check.
My goal here is for the guard to realize a man of my importance. I should be taken directly to Mr. Mech.
All right, go ahead and roll that.
So that was a coercion check with a little green plus, and how many difficulty dice?
2
If
purple dice,
if he's trying to coerce before you roll, can I aid him with my coercion?
Yes, since are you both skilled in it?
Yeah, being a Wookiee.
Go with your strengths.
You're gonna roll, Tyrus, you're gonna roll 2 green and 2 yellow dice, then 2 purple dice, and hit the green upgrade once, and then roll it.
God, that's complicated.
Hey, it worked
All
out.
right.
Bravo.
Very good. So 2 successes and advantage. Just narrate the flavor of your coercion as you push towards this guard. You stand. The Ishwar. I don't want to say the Wookiee. That's so rude. Sorry. Ishwar kind of steps aside to let you forward, and as you nudge your way right in front of the guard, Ishwar stands right behind you with his sort of chest pumped out, kind of.
No, he would kind of like take the side so he feels like he's surrounded, right? Yeah, perfect,
Yeah.
right?
So as you step, as Tyrus, tell us what you say.
Tyrus looks at the guard in his frayed, greasy uniform, and he lifts an eyebrow. My good man, do you have any idea who I am? Do you think I wait in waiting rooms? I think if you plan on having any future with this company, you'll take me to the director, and you'll do it immediately without inconveniencing my friends.
And he kind of stammers. I don't know who you are, but as he's saying that, you see Ishwar kind of just slowly stride behind him and stand sort of right in his blind spot behind him, and he's very uneasy and looking over his shoulder. And he says, okay. Just follow me. Just don't touch anything. I'm sure they were going to send for you in a second. Just follow me, please.
That's when he gives a good, happy sounding.
And having an ear on this conversation, I will prepare to shadow them as they go and give guidance to Bior as necessary to help him along with his stealth.
Kip again follows behind, a pace behind Tyrus at all points.
Tyrus turns to Kip and says, "Come along, X9350. We have an appointment."
Also, as we're leaving, perception check to see my party.
Perception check to see the people by the door.
Victor, yeah, do I see Victor and Bior? Come as me.
I hope not.
Yeah, that won't be good.
I don't think they're in your field of view at the moment, so you kind of look over your shoulder and you see nothing.
10-4.
Okay, so follow the guard down the hall. He's already moved through the hallway.
What is that? Is that a door on the bottom next to the waiting room?
Oh, yeah, I see that. Yeah.
Yep, there is another door there.
All right, we're gonna move up stealthily. Can I tell with any kind of observation what that door might lead to? Are there signage?
You're talking about that door right there?
That door right there. That little door.
Okay, are you walking up to it?
I am walking up to... Do I know there's a guard there?
If you want to roll a hard perception check.
Can I help him at all?
Yes, you can.
Actually, I have the force power to sense life.
Oh, that's right. Okay, so roll a force dice.
Going to try and keep that active. Well, I guess I have to do it intermittently. That is a success.
Okay, so you have one success. So you activate the power to sense all living things within short range. As you quiet your mind and reach out with the force, you don't sense anything. Well, did you do it before you moved or after you moved?
I'm trying to move up to the corner.
Okay,
but I want to get past the reception area.
Okay, so as you move down the hall, you suddenly get an awareness that there is someone around that corner, and you feel in the room adjacent to you, where you cannot see at the moment, north of you basically, that there are individuals in there too. From what you can sense in the range you're at, there's two.
But there's nothing coming from the area to the south.
No. You feel the presence of an individual in what you would assess would be to the waiting area where you saw them enter earlier, but no one else. Across the wall straight in front of you, like as if you were heading west, you do feel a few individuals too, from what you can sense beyond that wall.
Okie dokie. Is there any way to activate these doors, or are the guards using the little wristwatch at every interval?
No, the doors will readily open. You notice as they walk up to them, they just open from sensing the presence of someone in front of them. There doesn't seem to be any security measures on them.
Okay. I'm gonna give Bior the universal symbol for wait. And I'm going to misdirect the guard and attempt to activate the door.
Bior, he just flipped you off, man.
Yeah, for real.
Okay,
before got it rough, Jensen pulled a gun on him.
Before you do that, Victor,
Jensen's sipping tea and listening to NPR in the bridge, so that's all.
Yeah, Jensen's talking.
Yeah, Jensen, you want to stay on the ship at the moment, correct?
She's earned.
Yeah, I'm staying in the cockpit. I'm keeping an eye on everything. If anything looks weird or if security goes on alert, I've got comms open with Victor. I've got comms. I'm basically like the point person right now. I'm the getaway driver if need be. I'm staying on the ship because that's where they think I'm best suited for this adventure, and I'm going with it. I'm not a good hacker, and I'm not as good as a like frontman face person as Tyrus. So it's just better if I stay on the ship so that if something goes terrible and somebody has to jump out a window or something to get out, I can get to everybody. So I'm basically trying to run surveillance, kind of just keeping an eye on everything I can on the outside. I'm going to let them know if I see like the guards starting to move. I'm watching that confrontation that Victor pointed out up on the roof about. So I'm basically watching the building, and while I'm doing so, I'm just talking to the Jedi Master in the box about my my feelings and my twitchy nature and how I can rein that in. I'm basically just getting like Jedi training from the AI.
Okay, from the holocron.
Yeah, the holocron. What were we gonna call it? It wasn't Jedi Master in a box. Tyrus had a good name for it last week, and I can't remember what
I don't remember. Tyrus, what did you call it?
It was really good.
So, can you describe this odd-looking guard that's in front of us by this door? What is he wielding? And
He has a blaster carbine, and he seems to be a much. Actually, if you have knowledge warfare, please roll me an average knowledge warfare check.
And again, average is 2 purple dice, correct?
2 purple dice. That's correct.
Does one have to be have at least 1 skill point in that, or can we just all do it?
Yeah, in this case, for that knowledge, it would be people trained in it.
Got it. Okay.
So, you're trying to assess...
1 failure with advantage.
Yeah, 1 failure, 1 advantage. So, although it's obvious to you he's carrying a blaster carbine in his hands, you're not sure what type it is. And the only thing you can glean off of what you see in front of you is that he seems to be... He carries himself with a little bit more confidence than the average guard that you've been seeing. Other than that, you're not quite sure what his equipment or training is. Okay. As the door opens in front of you, you actually see Rena sitting at a desk there, and as she looks up, she's actually fairly shocked that you're coming into the room, and she says, "What's the meaning of this?" And the guard says, I'm sorry, ma'am. I'm sorry. They didn't want to wait in the room. I'm not sure what to tell you. Tyrus, I asked you to wait. Mr. Mech is finishing a conference. And the guard steps aside, obviously wanting to get out of her gaze as she's looking at you.
Miss Rana, how could I bear to be sat in that horrible little room without your charming company? Plus, I'm getting a bit thirsty. Is there any way a man can get a Parkland sling around these places?
Well, seeing as this isn't a bar, no, but I'm sure we can scrounge up some sort of refreshment. This isn't a resort, Tyrus. This isn't a game. You better be ready to make yourself useful, or things here are going to get very uncomfortable. And as she says that...
I bought and sold planets. My family has owned most of this system at one point or another. I think you'll find I'm a very easy man to deal with.
So as you are having this interchange, you see a man walk to the door. He's a Sakayan. They give you a picture to look at. Now again, this is not this particular character, this is just an example of his species. They are bald, kind of a greenish color. In this case, he's sort of lanky and thin and maybe of just under 6 foot height, with angular features and very close set pointed ears. He walks to the door and he says, "Rena, send in our guests, please." And she says, yes, Mr. Mech. Follow him. He turns and walks through the door.
Before we move any further, so the guard that led us into the room, is that him in the corner right there?
He followed you in, that guard in the corner.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that it wasn't a new one. I didn't see you move him.
The different looking guard walks in the room as well, as you see Mr. Mech, you presume, walk and direct you further into his office, which is further south here. He makes his way behind his desk and beckons you to enter.
Okay, I'll be following him. Who's the other person in this room?
You're not sure. He seems to be some form of employee. He's just sort of working at the desk there.
Okay, no weapons. He just looks like, what race is he?
No weapons. He is a Selkath.
Okay.
And while they walk into the room, we're going to go back to Victor and Bior. Victor, you asked to make another force check, and that was... Oh, you did.
To misdirect the guard.
Sure, go ahead and roll that, please. You rolled 2 light side points, very good. So is this misdirection on you, or Bior, or whom?
So he doesn't see me, but the door will still sense me. So I kind of want the door to open, and I'm going to gauge his reaction since he can't see me. I don't know if he's going to go investigate or if he's going to shrug it off, as in, maybe somebody changed their mind and going through this passage, or maybe that door just kind of effed up.
Which door, by the way?
The one south of me. The one
Okay.
where there were not people detected behind it.
So definitely as that door opens, he's extremely puzzled and looks around and turns to investigate. He walks into that room for a moment, and as the door opens, you see sort of a small bunk room. There's a closely packed cots and some personal effects on side tables, and he walks in and looks around for a second. And we'll say he spends a moment kind of trying to figure out what's going on with his back to you.
Okay, and so the area to the northeast, I sensed people in that area. Is that correct?
You did previously, yes.
Okay. I am not interested in a bunk area. There's no windows, and there's it's just like a guard post.
You would guess it must be some kind of employee or guard bunk room.
I am going to, and I haven't seen any kind of other access panels to anywhere that I could sneak through or infiltrate that's outside of the direct hallway, correct?
No, you don't see any kind of vents or panels. There's just the doors that are visible, and there's sort of like these wall lights that you can see. There are some cameras that you can make out on the far door around the corner. Other than that, it's pretty Spartan sort of office complex.
I'm going to give Bior the universal come hither, and I am going to saunter into the behind said individual.
I mosey over there.
And the plan is, I'm gonna stay misdirected while this guy looks around. But when Bior is behind him, I'm going to give Bior the universal knock this motherfucker out symbol.
Bior, I need you to make me a average stealth check, please.
All these universal symbols flying around.
It's true, they work.
Hey, I mean, the old donk on the head is pretty easy to interpret.
I was
did he say easy?
the hand across the neck, as in.
That's actually the symbol that I made. And I will also assist as soon as the door closes in wrangling this mofo.
Did you say easy or average?
Average stealth check first, because you're moving through the field of view of the cameras. Okay, so you rolled 2 successes and 2 threats. You are able to get through the hallway, kind of creeping around corners, and you feel like you probably have not made any note to the security system. However, as you're moving around the corner, your attention's really directed to the camera system, and you kind of make a noise, and the guard that Victor is standing next to turns to walk back out into the hall. And Victor, you see him instantly. You're standing right in front of him, but he can't seemingly see you. And he turns around.
In that case, I will initiate when he turns around with the old butt of the gun to the head, and we're going to try and take him down quietly and quick.
Okay, so this would be, I want you to make, you're going to make an attack roll. We're going to count it as stun damage. Let's see, if you're using the butt of the weapon, make me a melee skill check at easy difficulty. 1 purple dice.
All right, here we go.
Hey, yeah.
Oh, man!
All right, so as you do that, let's see. Let me see what his stats are. Okay, so he is a minion, and when you rifle him in the back of the head, with the butt of your weapon, you hear a crack on the back of his skull, and he drops to his knees and just slumps to the floor. He is unconscious / incapacitated, but not dead.
As I walk in, I'm like, great job.
And when the door closes, I will try and quickly change into a guard.
Oh, okay. So,
Little short for a stormtrooper, aren't you?
Okay, so you're gonna undress him.
Little shaggy for a corporate guard.
Given that he is of average height and weight, you're able to fit into his clothing, and you will get 2 boost dice to any stealth check in this facility, and we'll say any. Also say any negotiation check with a fellow guard.
Sweet.
Although, can you imagine a Wookiee trying to put on stormtrooper gear in passing? That would be hilarious.
And then we're gonna jump over to the CEO's office as Mr. Jeldorn Mech sits at his desk, and you see before you this Sakayan CEO. He's dressed in Tyrus what you would estimate as sort of the equivalent of fast fashion in this particular time frame. So something that to a moment's glance would look sort of tasteful and well put together, but to a discerning eye is sort of made of cheap fabric and not of quality make. And you see this sort of collection of jewelry, sort of a holographic timepiece on him, and some gaudy rings and things. And he strikes you as kind of a little bit of a sleazeball. And he beckons you to sit down, all 3 of you. Please sit now.
Kip stands behind Tyrus.
Tyrus looks at the Sakayan and says, "Finally, an equal."
He regards, you can see he kind of regards you for a moment, and he's clearly taking note of your clothing and attire and raises an eyebrow. Tyrus, you dress well. I see you have this animal in your attendance. He's well-mannered as well. I tip my hat to you for training him so effectively.
Oh, that gets a grunt of anger from the Wookiee.
What happened to your cool Wookiee noises?
Oh, hell no.
Tyrus just shoots a side eye and a little wink over to Ishwar and says, "Well, they are awfully useful if you want the arms pulled off of people.
Oh, I like
a man
who
in my
knows how to throw
position
his
can
weight around.
certainly use a little extra muscle."
Oh, of course. making your way in the galaxy these days. There's so many friggin' lowlifes around. You've got to use what you can to stay ahead. I like that. Where can I get a bodyguard like that? I hear there's slave
Mr.
labor,
Mack,
right? You can purchase
I have many
one, can't
resources that we could possibly
God,
discuss.
they're trying to incite the Wookiee.
Oh, this guy's got 4 ticks already. He struck out. He's gonna be the first one to catch a blaster.
Yeah, one of
Notice
my
the foreshadowing of having his arms pulled off.
one of the Imperial Moffs that we do business with. He could probably get me one. Anyway, what did you come for?
He's definitely trying to incite the Wookiee.
Mr. Mack, as you
He's totally
can
trying to
imagine,
use
my
you.
business interests carry me in many parts of the known and unknown galaxy. We came across a particularly interesting piece of technology, and I have heard from reliable sources that you are perhaps one of the few people that would truly appreciate its potential.
You've heard of me.
Mr. Mack, throughout the unexplored and, shall we say, fringe edges of the galaxy, your presence is well known.
Make an average charm check, please. Okay, so he looks at you for a moment a little bit funny as you say that, and he goes, okay, whatever.
Are you hitting on me, man?
Yeah, he kind of looks, he goes, well, to be honest with you, everybody seems to want to be friends with an Imperial Moff or an officer, or in this case, somebody with some perhaps political clout. But frankly, in the business sector, we have the real power here. We're the one moving all the pieces, selling all the military parts and equipment. You think this war would go anywhere? You think the Empire would have any of the clout that it does without our equipment? Well, here in this facility, we collect things that, let's just say, couldn't be on the books of Arakyd Industries officially. Any kind of tech that we find that, might be used in unethical ways is my specialty. I've made a great fortune selling it. So whatever you might have, I'd like to see.
Mr. Mack, of course, you're aware of the ethos of my people. Help all, but help oneself first. Of course, when I acquired this technology, yours was the first name on my lips, because ethics are really problems that other people have to worry about. The Mune are businessmen. We're interested in furthering the interests of all of our friends. And you're our friend, aren't you, sir?
Oh, I can be your friend, Tyrus. Let's discuss something, shall we?
Okay, the
name
ship had better
dropped.
have a shower. That's all I'm saying.
What was
You name
that?
dropped on your way in here. Grak Halleck, you know him. Correct?
Let's just say that in my path through the universe, I've acquired something that he felt was valuable, but was no longer interested in using.
Tyrus, quit teasing me. Give me the good stuff. What do you got? Credits are
turn
not a
and look.
problem.
Well, I turn and look at X9350 and say, son, it's time.
Kip, what do you do?
Kip takes off his blaster and lays it on the table. He says, anything I choose to create, sir? To Tyrus.
So I immediately turn to Mech and say, this is a droid, an X9350. You've seen them before. They're barely capable of bringing a proper drink at the proper time of day. But we've had some modifications, shall we say.
Kip turns around and shows the quote unquote tech on his back.
Mr. Mech, are you familiar with Kyber crystal.
Yes, I'm familiar with them. They fetch a friggin' high price in the black market.
Well, then
They're
you've
also
met
illegal to move.
illegal, sir. Are we really limited by such narrow concepts?
I like you, Tyrus.
Mr. Mech, do you know of the internationally Drakkar Noir soaked pirate known as Gilith Hawk?
You see him shift in his chair for just a moment, and he says, "Yeah, I know Hawk."
You can almost sense the smell in the air, can't you?
Yeah. But I got one
Well,
over on him.
Do you?
Yeah. We just took in a nice piece of tech that I stole from him. And let me tell you, when I crack this baby, our company is gonna be on top.
Well, sir, I hate to break it to you, but what you have is merely his first overture. What we have is the symphony.
What do you mean?
Have you met his companion, a particularly fetching blue number called Scott?
Yeah. What I wouldn't give to get my hands on her.
Well,
And also do business.
right
you
in
know.
front of you is her portable, upgradable, transferable self. Kip turns around now and shows his exciting blue glowing accoutrement.
All right, so what's the ask here? What does he do?
I assume that your guard is armed.
Well, hell yeah. All my guards are armed.
And that little dauble on your desk, that little pen, would I be able to borrow it for a moment?
By the way, what are you referring to? Literally his writing implement?
I don't know what the Star Wars equivalent to a pen is, so I'm going to say.
All right, we'll say it's a pen or a stylus of some kind. Sure, he hands you the stylus. Sure, Tyrus, get to the point.
Stylus Bendu.
And with great confidence, I take the stylus from the desk, hand it to Kip, and say, "Kip, you know what to do."
Kip says, "Anything my heart's desire, Master?"
Sanctity and security, Kip. Protocol H.
Yes, sir. I take the blaster and the stylus. I use my mental tools to use that and only that to take the power source. I'm going to modify the blaster such that it produces a ball-sized force bubble instead of like a force field bubble instead of an actual blast.
So now I say, Mech, bring in your other guard from the other room.
He pushes a button on his intercom. Send in the mook. So one of the guards comes in, "Sir?"
Alien spacer, huh?
And I say to the Mook, "Mook, shoot my droid."
Wait, what?
Shoot him? Are you serious?
Shoot my droid, you idiot.
He looks over to Mr. Mech and he's like, should I, sir? Yeah, sure, whatever, just do it. So he nervously takes his blaster out of his holster and kind of levels it right at Kip. And he just stands there and he kind of looks over to you again, Tyrus. You want me to shoot him?
Hang on a second. Now Kip moves a little further away from me.
So, yeah, out of character, do I need to roll anything to make this force bubble?
Just move, honey, just move.
I will.
Okay. So you're just as a aside, you are trying to modify a blaster pistol. Now, does your mental tools allow you to entirely change the function of something?
My mental tools allow me to basically have whatever tools I need to use, or I would need to modify things. So I always have the tools I need on hand, basically. I would still need to roll to modify this thing. I can't just automatically modify. I have to fix something or modify something, and I have skills that allow me to do that.
I feel like Kip just needs constant.
I probably should have thought of that before I asked him to shoot you.
Yeah. So okay, Kip. I thought that was obvious when I said he uses the stylus to modify the blaster in order to do this thing.
I'm gonna allow you to modify the blaster, but given that the blaster is gonna fire an energy bolt, typically, you're gonna have to explain exactly how you're gonna modify that to do what you want, and I'll base the.
So what I'm going to do is what I'm going to do is, instead of the pistol I'm going to have is going to create, instead of a blaster, right? So I modify the blaster. Instead of having the blaster actually create a bolt, that is actually going to create a shield in front of me. So when he blasts, I'm also going to blast. I'm going to create the shield. So I'm going to modify the blaster to create basically a force field instead of an actual blaster bolt.
Okay, so with your mechanics training,
different skills, to do this.
You would know that this is a tall ask. You can modify the energy emitter to create to spread into a field in front of you. You're not entirely sure if it's going to function as an effective force field.
Can I boost him?
Are you trained in mechanics?
No, but I have a great right leg.
Okay, so this is going to be.
And if anything goes south, Ishwar's he's ready to just grab his axe and swing it at this guy in the black. If anything goes south.
Okay, so given what you have to work with, Kip, this is going to be 3 purple dice and 1 red dice. And what you're banking on is that you can alter the emitter into a spread to create a diffused energy burst and hope that it will act in a way to block an incoming blast.
All you guys have to do is
a light-sided chip, please.
Long enough for Victor to have.
Hang on, just
a light-sided chip, please.
Yes, I will use a light-sided chip. I'm also going to use my Master Artisan. That once per round, I can take the Master Artisan incidental. I suffer 2 strain to decrease the difficulty of the next mechanics check by 1.
Ooh, nice. Okay.
I have 2 ranks of inventor, so I get to add 2 blue dice to my my roll for any when constructing a new item or modifying existing attachments. So I can do that. I have mental tools, so I can use literally this stylus to do whatever I want. And what is the red dice? Because I have something called Gearhead, and I'm able to remove a black dice per rank of Gearhead from mechanics checks. Is that the same thing?
No. A challenge dice is like the opposite of a yellow dice, like a.
Okay, got it. Okay.
So let's construct your dice pool. You're gonna roll 3 purple dice. Well, you're gonna do your mechanics skill. So double click mechanics. You're gonna put 3 purple dice and 1 red dice. Then you're going to.
Wait. So 3 purple dice, but I can have Master Artisan that reduces that by 1.
Yeah, but we're gonna do that in a different way. So put them in there first.
Okay,
so
now I have my 2 purple, or my 2 boost dice per inventor, or for inventor.
And then
that is my, and then 1 red, right?
Yeah, 1 red, 3 purple. Then you're gonna push the green plus because you're spending a destiny point.
Okay.
And then you're gonna push a red minus to account for your downgrading the difficulty of the check.
There we go. Okay, got it.
Now roll that.
Okay.
Everybody pray.
Yeah, everybody's rolling their fingers.
Oh, Kip, we hardly.
Oh my god.
Okay, so
The forehead rules.
So, Kip, as you instantly grab the pistol, you see this guy leveling his blaster towards you, and you can tell his certainty with the decision to shoot you is becoming more and more cemented in his mind as he gets the nod from Mr. Mech, who you could tell probably couldn't give a crap about you. He goes to pull the trigger right as you're working with the stylus for a moment, and as you kind of complete the circuit, you see a flash, and you see him pull the trigger as he makes an attack roll against you. We're gonna do that, and then as you activate this device that you do, you see this kind of almost in a volumetric cone from the front of the blaster, this sort of bizarre kind of red energy discharge. And what we're going to do is, since you rolled 3 successes, 3 advantage, he's going to make his attack roll, and we're going to deduct that from what he gets. And if you do, then you will not take any damage. If somehow he exceeds that, you may take some damage.
Okay.
Give me 1 second. Okay. Our security personnel.
Oh, I have 2 strain, just so you know.
Oh, okay. Go ahead and add that to your character sheet.
Okay.
So he pulls the trigger, and as he fires the blaster shot, it actually simultaneously, as you discharge this pistol in your hand and this bizarre kind of cone wave of energy shoots out, you see the blaster bolt just sort of enter this energy field and just sort of get dissipated in like a reverse polarity and kind of spreads outward. And although you feel some heat on your skin as the blaster bolt kind of passes through the energy field that you did, you actually suffer no damage. And you see Mech stand up and slam the table, and he's like, "Oh, damn! All right,
I'm going to use a force ability. I need an immediate force ability. The other guard fall down."
You're gonna have to elaborate on that.
You cut out.
What I'm doing here is showing Mech that not only did the droid deflect the beam, it actually knocked out his other guard. It is a reflector. So you can use this ability, this tech, to use any droid. You know, your usual, I'm at Starbucks waiter droid, and it could deflect any energy to kill an opponent.
Oh, wait, are you using... Hold on. If you're using your reflect talent, that uses your lightsaber. Is that what you're doing?
No. I'm saying I'm using the force talent to force the other droid, the other guard, to fall, to convince Mech that the energy from the force blast was reflected by the droid with his extra talents, and all of a sudden he's picked up an ability that would be incredibly
Okay.
He's basically putting the cherry on top of what I just did.
Fine. But are you using force move? Is that what you're doing?
It's a big syrupy red cherry. Yes. No. I'm gonna convince the other guard to fall down as if hit by a blast.
You can convince him to believe something untrue. You can't mentally compel his actions, though.
Got it.
I can believe him mentally that his legs just fell out from under him like he's been cut off at the...
Okay, all right, I'll allow it.
Or his penis now has the liquid density of mercury and has to fall to the ground.
All right, so make a force power check.
There's such a thing as overeducation. That's all I'm saying.
So, Tyrus, your mischievous glee rises in you as you can feel the dark side welling up inside you. Are you going to use that result?
As his mercurial side falls to the floor, hell to the yes.
Okay, and since he is a rival, please make a discipline check with 2 purple dice, please. Okay, so as you try and convince him that his legs don't work, You can tell that you're unsuccessful in doing so, although he kind of, for a moment, like, is confused and drops his gun and starts looking around for a moment, like, what the hell was that? I don't think he's ever experienced someone entering his mind before. And you can see Mech, like, look at you, and he's like, did you do that too? Was that you?
So I immediately turn to Mech and say, as you can see, these modifications we've made with the cyber crystal have enormous potential. This was just a small demonstration. Imagine any droid being able to be upgraded to the point that they could fight off a foe, they could focus an energy, they could kill anyone you direct. Would you say this is something you'd be interested in? I have, of course, many other people that are pursuing this technology, but of course, Mech, as I mentioned, your reputation for understanding and the sourcing of tech has been mentioned to me.
All right, so what we're going to enter into a moment. I'm going to break away from this for a second. You're going to be starting next time with a negotiation check. We're going to flip over to Bior and Victor. You have a guard on the floor. Victor, you're in guard's clothing.
Don't forget. Jensa warned you about the code.
Jensa's getting a pedicure.
Yeah,
Hey,
I
let's
will
see if we can get this guy to pay us too.
wrap up my cloak and
That
do
would
I
be
hear
a nice
the
bonus.
blaster, or has that not happened yet?
Say that again, Victor. I didn't hear you.
Do I hear the blaster sound?
From here, yeah, make a hard vigilance check.
Would it have happened yet?
Yeah, these are contemporaneous, so
Do
we'll
we
say
both
that it's
make one?
sort of going on at the same moment. Yeah, you both can make it.
This is all happening while I'm changing, maybe?
Okay, so you do kind of hear something. You hear kind of some sort of bizarre rumble in the distance. You're not sure what it is. It kind of maybe alarms you slightly. Not sure if your teammates are in trouble.
Whisper on the comm. I'm gonna say, Jensa, was that us? Because I need a hell of a lot more time. They're gonna have to slow it down, and I hope they're not shooting the place up.
I don't see any signs of gunfire, and I certainly didn't hear anything, but it's storming like a bitch out here.
I'm going to walk down the hall, and I'm going to position myself at this door as a guard would, but get a little too in front of the door such that it will open, and I'm going to take a gander before I go into a guard position. Do I see people in there?
As the door opens, you see what looks to be a large hangar, and from your viewpoint, you can see one guard positioned next to a crane. You're aware someone else is in the room, you just can't physically see them at the moment.
Yeah. Okay. I am going to come back down to...
Still not seeing any firefight signs. Everything okay? Did you hear a gunshot or something?
Radio silence, but tell them I need time.
Alrighty.
Jensa, you also see on the ship systems that there is a guard walking down the walkway towards the vessel. And he stops at the end of the walkway right where the landing pad begins, and he's just standing there.
I'm gonna go to Bior, and I'm gonna say, keep him down. If you hear anybody approaching, just, is there a place in the bunk room that he can hide? That I can spot for him with skullduggery, maybe?
No, he could actually hide behind or under one of the beds. That would be acceptable and fairly obvious to him, I imagine.
I'm gonna kind of buzz in on Tyrus and say, keep him stalled.
You're gonna say this through the comm?
You know what? No, because somebody could be listening to that. So never mind.
Do we have a secure, text channel?
Yeah,
we don't.
All right. Wait.
Yes, you all have personal data
we
pads.
have an encrypted channel.
You all have personal data pads, and you'd be able to send each other the equivalent of Star Wars text messages.
I'm gonna what's the game? Sabak?
Sabak.
I'm gonna text Tyrus. Keep that Sabak game rolling late tonight? ? And hope he catches my drift.
So
Tyrus sends her back a winky icon.
Okay, and then I'm going to continue to monitor the building. What's that guard doing? Sorry.
He's just standing there, kind of in the rain, just watching what's going on the pad. He's just making kind of normal sentry movements to your estimation.
I'm gonna throw up the lights in the cockpit and kind of give him like the sympathetic look as I give him like a half wave, and then like lift a cup of coffee and point to it like, hey, you want a cup of...
He looks over his shoulder for a second because he's almost wondering, like, did you actually acknowledge him? And then he kind of like shrugs.
I mean, it's like pouring rain and blowing wind, and salt water is like spewing up the sides of the cliff, spraying everywhere.
He looks kind of like excited, actually.
It's perfect.
And he starts walking towards the ship.
Yeah, I'll brew him a cup and lower the gangplank.
So as he walks on, he's like, "Hello?
Hey! Jesus, who'd you piss off?" Well, probably not Jesus.
He's like,
random expletive. Yoda. Yeah, that doesn't help either.
Yeah, it is almost constantly raining in this place.
They make you stand out there in that?
Yeah, do what you're paid to do, I guess.
Oh my god.
What are you guys doing here? You've been here for a while. We never get visitors.
My boss has got some merchandise deal. This is kind of our deal. What about you? Why take this job? This sounds miserable. And I'm just going to continue to small chat him. I'm not doing anything interesting. I'll chat him up for a few minutes, and then, when he says he has to get back to work, I'm going to let him.
No, he sits down actually in the lounge with you, and he's very interested in talking further.
Okay, well, I wasn't going to, invite him onto the ship. I was just going to, talk to him on the gangplank under...
Oh, no, he's presumptuous. He thought you're interested, and he's just coming on board. And he takes a seat in the lounge.
Okay, well, I'll let you get to Victor first, and then you can swing back to me since I'm not being that interesting.
Okay, Victor, what are you doing?
I'm going to walk into this room with the... I'm just going to swagger through the room with deception in a I belong here, this is what I do kind of posture, and just in disguise make my way over towards the door on the other end.
Which door?
I can't ping the map, but the only
Northeast.
the northeast door.
Northeast. Okay. As you walk across, you see the guard by the crane just kind of look over at you for a moment, and he's sort of reading your expression, perhaps thinking for a moment, "What are you doing here?" And he says, "This isn't your circuit. What are you doing over here?"
I will give him the "seriously, you're gonna bother me" expression on my face.
Okay, roll a average coercion check, please.
I was gonna deception if I can.
Oh, you're gonna deception. Okay, so go ahead and roll an average deception check. Oh my god. Okay, so you rolled 6 successes and 2 threats and a triumph. So as you kind of shoot him a look, he just puts his both hands up. He's like, all right, no problem. He kind of tries to see what your rank is on your chest, but as you kind of see him doing that, you kind of turn your body awkwardly so he can't quite see it. And he's like, yeah, no problem. I'll switch over to the other room. Go ahead.
I will head over to this door.
And he walks out into the other hall. And as you walk up to that door, you see in the room these enormous canisters of, some of them are crates. You're not sure what's in them, sort of like cargo containers, but they're gray ones, large, rectangular, are clearly marked with a universal symbol denoting there's some kind of fuel for the sublight drives. So there's all kinds of hazard and warning symbols. They're combustible. There seems to be some sort of storage room for outfitting the ships for takeoff.
Is there a terminal in this room or any kind of computer or system?
No, there is just sort of a bland storage area.
And there's no exits.
To the east, there's two huge hangar doors which are outfitted with force fields, and their force fields are on at the moment. Past them, you can see the storm and the rain, and this is sort of where ships sort of take off to leave the facility. Company ships or cleared ships.
I'm going to perceive in the room to see if there's anything useful.
Yeah, average perception check. You rolled 4 successes. As you look around the room, you do
out of the water, man.
You do take obvious notice of the crane, which has been used to load and unload cargo from ships. You can see the two fighters look slightly damaged. One of them appears to be non-functional. The other one seems to have been under some degree of repair recently, although no one's actively working on it at the moment. And there's a guard kind of walking in between them. The rest of the crates in the room seem to be run-of-the-mill cargo containers, and they're unmarked. There is a security panel on the wall that looks fairly rudimentary. You would assume it's probably just for routine operations of the hangar bay.
Okay. In that case, I will continue to make my progress. I'm going to go open this door here and just take a quick look down the hall to make sure I see any doors, because currently I can't really tell if there's any doors down that way other than the one in the northwest.
Yeah, there's one straight north and northwest and northeast by my...
Yeah, there are 3 doors along the north side of the hallway. There is a door along the far western end of the hallway, and then the ones you came from. There's one guard posted there just sort of staring forward.
Okay, I'm gonna continue my I own this bitch walk, and I'm going to force sense for people behind these 3 doors to...
Roll a force dice for me, please. And then after we conclude this action, we're going to go back to the boardroom. You rolled 1 dark side point. Do you want to use that?
Question. I knew
Yes.
there were people in the door directly north of me, right? From my prior sensing?
No. When you made that check, which by the way is a short range sense, you were in a different hallway down towards the waiting area, so you were sensing people that you could perceive were in the hangar. What was north of these doors would have been out of your range to feel anything.
I am feeling the frustration of not having any kind of schematic to rely on and going in a little bit blind, and I am going to channel that anxiety to try and perceive if there are any living people in the area, because I have a little bit of fear of bumping into even more people.
Alright, so go ahead and add 1 strain to your character sheet. I added 1 conflict. You successfully activate your force sense, and as you reach out with the force, in short range of you, you can tell not only the guard standing next to you, but you feel someone beyond the door immediately north of you, and just on the edge of where you can detect, you kind of feel like there's someone in the room, in the door directly northwest of you too. So these first 2 doors, you can clearly sense someone in there.
But not that 3rd door, or is that out of my range?
Too far. Can't quite tell. And as that concludes, Oh, yeah, go ahead. Anything else immediately you want to do?
As I'm pacing forward, can I keep it going? Or is that going to be a whole nother issue check thing? And are there any observable signage that may indicate what's behind these areas?
So first question, it would be a separate check. Second question, there is no obvious signage.
Okay. I'm gonna pick
you
the
get
one
the
in the
impression as you walk through this place that this is not designed as a facility to entertain visitors. So there's very little in ways of markings. You don't even see obvious labels on large rooms. Like there's no indicator that there was a hangar there as you walk up to the door.
Yeah. So short of any additional security measures, I will take the north door. I.e., if there's not like a more different keypad or like a handprint identification module, I will try and take door number 2.
Okay, so we're going to pause there before you do that. We're going to reconvene with the Ishwar, Tyrus, and Kip group in the room. Tyrus, you are opening... Oh, yeah, go ahead, Jensa.
Yeah, I'm just basically gonna finish the coffee and then tell him I'm gonna get my ass kicked by my boss if I catch somebody on the ship. I'm pretty sure he's gonna get in much trouble if he's hanging out in the ship instead of standing guard on watch, making sure I'm not escaping, and give like a ha 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 kind of joke thing. I'm just gonna try to get cordial enough with him that I lower his like expectations that we're up to something, and then I'm gonna nonchalantly coerce him off the boat.
Well, I mean, as you try and tell him, I'm sure you're busy and you have to get back to work, he's like, no, honestly, it's okay. And he kind of puts his hand on your hand.
I kind of give him like the I wish look and then kind of roll my eyes and say, seriously, my boss will freaking shoot me. He's not a nice guy. I'm pretty sure you know the type. And I'm going to use my charm to kind of convince him that now's not a good time. But I do ask if he lives in the system. Or if he ever visits the star base we were just at.
Okay, make an average charm check, please.
Can I get a boost dice if I run my thumb over the back of his hand as I say that?
No. If you don't, all right, I'll give it to you. Yeah, go for it.
Or persuasion.
So yeah, as you kind of like give him the flirtatious but polite rebuff, he kind of is like, "Oh, are you sure? I mean, I don't think anyone's gonna miss me for at least 15 minutes."
Hashtag me too.
More time with you than that. And I give him my name, Rinsa Prius.
Push him
And
down in the
my
refresher.
phone number, basically, my text number.
He's so proud of himself as he kind of like, he smiles and he's like, oh my, I'm totally gonna hollow message you. And he turns and
I'm
he
gonna
like,
tell him I'm basically like, we're at this star station all the time. It's just on the way to some of our more active clients. So, I mean, I'm pretty sure we might be able to, if this goes well, we might be able to meet up later in the day. What time's your shift over kind of crap. But I'm gonna say that as I'm talking him off.
yeah, as you're kind of putting your arm around him and walking him towards the door, and he's totally just going along with you, and he's just like googly-eyed at you, and he's like, yeah, and I mean, I have a girlfriend and everything, but she is totally cool. She's totally cool. And don't you worry about it. Listen, next time you come here, you look me up. I am off tomorrow. Okay? And he gets off and he starts walking down the ship, and he kind of is like, he thinks, as he walks off that you're not looking, and he sort of like fist pumps in the air for a second, and then he starts walking off towards the plank, and he's just like totally excited. He's kind of light on his feet.
I close the cargo bay and debate taking a shower, and instead decide that I shouldn't be nice to strangers ever again.
And you can see he left his blaster pistol on your lounge table.
Oh, sweet. I'm gonna go take his blaster pistol and set it in my cup holder up front, since that's apparently how I roll, according to Tyrus.
Okay, Tyrus, you're at the desk with Ishwar
Love your rum.
and Kip.
Love you.
Love you too.
And you have him hook, line, and sinker. He's totally interested. Now it's time to talk business. All right, Tyrus. What do you want? Leave the droid with me. Let's talk price.
Mr. Mac, this is not my first time to the rodeo.
While you're doing that, you see one of the guards walk over to Kip and kind of grab him by the arm and start escorting him out of the room.
I immediately turn to the guard and say, "Sir,
Ishwar
what we showed you was only a small fraction."
No, it's okay. It's okay. We're just going to take him to the droid lab in the other room. We're just going to do a few tests. It's no problem.
Okay, I'm going to use a force check.
The guard kind of pulls Kip
force
along.
check with the guard.
Wait, so Kip pulls away and says, "Unhand me, sir. I am a droid who has worth."
I need to do a force check with the guard for him to realize how dangerous this is.
Okay, so when you say force check, tell me what force power you're using. Are you using influence?
One moment, please.
Yeah, I think you have influence and sense.
I have control, emotion, belief.
Okay, so you're using influence, and you want to do what?
Discipline check in which I can spend points, force point. I want the guard to that just grabbed Kip to react in a horrified way that somehow the power of Kip has affected him and he realizes how dangerous that was, in part to show Mech that this is clearly a technology under my power and clearly to be feared.
Roll me 2 force dice, please. And while he's doing that, Ishwar, tell me what you're doing.
Respected.
Oh, Ishwar stands up and makes it clear that the droid isn't going anywhere unless Tyrus says it's going anywhere. So he's immediately like putting a little bit of the coercion threat on as well. And yeah, that's it. Because depending on his role, I can do something.
Okay, Tyrus, you succeed in activating the basic power, which is to give positive emotions. If you want to try and control, if you want to make that discipline versus discipline check for the control upgrade, you would need to use that dark side point.
Dark side point, please.
Yeah.
All right, add another strain to your character sheet. I added another conflict. You do succeed, and you try and not be obvious about it, but you immediately send a sense of fear and panic. And since you're channeling the dark side to do so, you are very effective in causing the guard to be sort of alarmed and feel a sense of just internal dread. And he unhands Kip for a second and steps back towards the wall. And you can see Mech be like, "What the hell are you doing? Take the droid in the other room. We got this. We'll talk about prize, Tyrus. Don't get weird on me."
So now
the guard actually is very uncomfortable, and he just turns and he starts walking out of the room. And you can see Mech like, "What the hell are you doing?" And the guard walks out of the room, and he looks at the special forces guy, and he goes, "Go get him. What do I pay you people for?" Another guard walks out for a second to kind of get the other guy. He's like, "This is getting weird."
They're all headed for the refresher chamber.
Kip moves back to stand next to, or behind Tyrus's left shoulder again, and says, "I aim to please, sir." To Tyrus.
Careful.
Mech levels a look at you, Tyrus, and he's like, "Fine, Tyrus, Price, I don't have all day. I have another meeting. Things here are a little busy. What do you want?"
Negotiation check, please.
Well, what are you asking him for?
I would say, Mech, I've had many offers. You can clearly see the value of this technology, but I can see it better. If you don't wish to make a reasonable offer, you're wasting my time. Name your price.
Suddenly you see a individual walk into the room. And you see that Cathar fellow, that cat-like feline in the black trench coat, walk into the room. You see on his belt, with no attempt to hide it, a double-bladed lightsaber hilt. And he surveys the room with a cruel and keen look as he watches, and he's like, "The hell's going on in here?" And for the first time you see Mech, who kind of has been sort of arrogant and a little bit idiotic, frat boyish, just kind of looks suddenly pale, and he says, Nothing, Rodek, nothing. We're just conducting a little business. We have a meeting, Mech. I am not kept to wait. And he looks at you three and he says, what the hell are they doing here? This is a secure facility. I want anybody with a... I think it's only Tyrus, but anybody in the room with a force rating of greater than 1, please roll a hard discipline check, please.
Hide your powers. We're just here to stall so that Victor can hack the computer.
I know. Does Chip
Don't make
recognize
this worse
this
than it needs to
as
be.
a Crimson Dawn member?
Okay,
Pay
first,
no attention to the man behind the curtain.
Tyrus, you feel a very alien feeling in your mind. Something oppressive and heavy. As if someone is kind of sifting through your thoughts. And it's extremely unsettling to you because you're quite used to being on the opposite side of this. And you see a look on his face where he instantly steels himself for a moment and stands very straight. And he smiles at you for a second. And he says, Mech, I'll be waiting for you outside. You have 3 minutes. And he turns and walks out of the room.
I look over at Ishwar and say, friend of yours?
By the way, Kip, you would recognize an insignia that was on the chest part of his duster. And he does carry a Crimson Dawn insignia, and you would see equivalent garb in high-ranking officers, and you're no fool. You recognize the weapon he carries on his belt. You would instantly be brought back to a lot of memories that you had.
Yes.
Ishwar just kind of gives Tyrus an odd look.
You can see Mech is no longer really focused, and he's kind of shifting through his stuff on the desk, and he goes, we're gonna have to wrap this up. You know what?
Kip,
leave the droid here.
Kip leans down and Kip leans down and whispers into Tyrus's ear, Crimson Dawn.
Sorry, once again?
Crimson, I whisper into your ear.
I love it. He's trying to be discreet, and you're like, wait, huh?
My ears are very tiny. My forehead's very tall. The acoustics are horrible.
He's like, Crimson Dawn. That's all he whispers it, and that's it. And he stands back up.
And suddenly you hear around you, but from no obvious place, kind of a chuckle, like...
Let's see, a vigilance check?
Sure.
Yeah, do we all get one of those? Or a perception?
Yeah, hard vigilance check, please. Anyone in the room, hard vigilance check.
All of us? No.
Okay. And hard vigilance is how many?
Now I
3
wish I
purple
had
dice.
gone, because I'm great at vigilance.
So
Oops, I have to roll another boost on my own because I have uncanny reaction.
hard is 3, right?
Correct.
Well, so far.
A big fat
Wait,
nada.
what? You didn't
Okay.
roll anything.
All right,
It's a
so
petty 4. I rolled a petty 4.
Fail.
A petty 4. Ishwar and Tyrus, you saw the guy walk out of the room. The sound is coming from in the room.
Then I'd like to a 4 sense control thoughts, sense thoughts.
You're going to activate a force power?
For the ability to sense the thoughts of someone in the room.
Okay, roll 2 force dice.
Should I be troubled that Jensa is screaming?
No, don't do it. He's obviously
It's done.
perceiving-
And Tyrus's connection to the force lights up like a gleaming beacon of the light side.
I've always been special.
Tyrus,
Why, Tyrus?
as you open your mind to sense the thoughts of those around you, You are completely overwhelmed with a magnitude of malice that you have never experienced before. I want you to make...
Have you met my mother?
I want you to make a formidable, which is 4 purple dice, discipline check, as you are shaken to the core with the fear of touching the mind of a master of the dark side.
And we split the party.
This turns out. Ooh.
No!
Oh, our first PC deaths.
You suddenly see Tyrus double over in pain as he grabs his head. And Tyrus, you are so blinded by this terrifying sense of hatred of all things. You've never touched the will of someone who just wants to destroy as much as what you just experienced. And it's the equivalent of having a migraine. I mean, you can't focus on anything else in the room at the moment. For the remainder of the encounter, all of your checks have 2 setback dice.
Wow.
You see Ishwar, you see Tyrus obviously not well. You see Mech stand up and back up against the wall, and he's like, oh God, you guys. I gotta go. And he turns and he knocks the chair over, and he runs as fast as he can out of the room. But before he can even get to the door, you see behind him, out of apparently nowhere, a red lightsaber blade just goes through his chest and come out the other side. And as he falls, it cuts through the torso vertically, and he bisects and kind of falls into 2 pieces, like on the upper half of him.
I didn't see the cat guy that I was watching, like, cut somebody in half on the roof.
So Ishwar's more upset he didn't get to kill this guy now, because like.
So Mech is sliced in 2, laying on the floor. You've never witnessed this happen to anyone before, and it's a little bit shocking. And you see before you the Cathar, looking completely gleeful and calm. And he says, I haven't come across Force sensitives in some time. I suggest you state your business here before we kill you. And I'll be collecting your belongings, and if you're of worth to me, I will take you to my leaders. If not, well, you see what I'll do to you.
Well,
and we're gonna jump over. Ishwar, you can say what you're gonna say, and then we're gonna jump over to Bior and
because Kirk has
Vic.
had time to do stuff at this point.
So, first of all, if he understands Wookiee, he would say that they are there to sell this droid's upgrade components that they had stolen from a competitor. But if he doesn't, I mean, all he hears is.
You can see the way he looks at you.
Can we find Ken some kind of like awesome Wookiee sound simulator that'll work with our whatever? I don't know.
Yeah, we could actually. He does not seemingly understand you, and he pays you little regard other than to sort of keep you in his peripheral gaze. His body language does not denote any sense of discomfort or alarm. He feels in total mastery of the situation. All of a sudden,
catch a frag grenade.
All of a sudden, he waves his hand before him, and literally before your very eyes, he's no longer there.
No perception or something?
No, as far as you can tell, it's literally vanished in front of your eyes.
Holy shit.
And you hear a voice in the room saying, "Let's see if you can get out of here alive." Victor!
Through the north door.
As you go through the north door, you walk in on a guard doing something in his bed. You're not sure what he's up to, but he's kind of got a data pad there, and he's just sort of like, he's like, "What the hell are you doing in here?" And he pulls the covers up over him.
Mom!
I laugh and then I walk out.
The door
And then I
closes
head this way.
behind you.
These guys are on their A game.
Yeah, you open the door and you see this. You see another guard in there, and he's actually just sort of getting some things out of a footlocker, and he kind of looks up at you, and he's like, "Can I help you?"
Just getting to know the rounds. I nod and I keep moving.
Deception check, average difficulty, please.
One sec.
Here we are with no light set points.
All right, so you rolled a success and 4 advantage. He's like, yeah, okay, no problem, man.
I am going to move into this room. I am going to misdirect anyone I see as I move into this room.
So as you walk in, you see the only lady sitting there who you kind of would recognize as Rena, who introduced herself to you before. And as she looks up towards the door, you have to roll a force dice for me. As she looks up towards the door, she notices you for a second, and then you seemingly vanish before her eyes. And she gets up and looks around, and she's like...
I will use my Now You See ability, which once per session, I can make a hard deception check. If I win, they forget that I was there.
Roll it. Oh, nice. So 2 success, nice. 2 threat, and a triumph. Okay, so she sits back down at the desk calmly, as if you were never there.
I will walk over to the store.
You see before you a row of terminals, computer terminals. There are 2 guards just standing there, not really acting, just standing sentry.
I will walk over to this computer as if I am intended to do so, and I will make a deception check to fool the guards into thinking that I am doing what I'm supposed to.
Average difficulty. Actually, don't. I think you forgot last time. You get your boost dice, as a matter of fact.
Is it 1? Just 1, right?
1 boost dice. Yeah. Oh.
Oh, man.
The king of deception. Yeah, they pay you absolutely no attention. And in fact, one of them is so bored by your presence there that he leaves the room. And he goes to stand in the next room.
Now...
This guy is so boring, I can't be here.
Yeah, it's so boring, you can't tolerate it.
Presence is painful to me.
So now on to the computer work. I am going to.
You look down at the
fundamentals. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
You look down at the terminal. What you see before you is basically a technician workstation for most of the routine operations here at the station. I turn it over to you.
Yes, so I am going to try and override the terminal's restricted access using my slicing ability to try and get root or administrative privileges on this terminal, if that is possible.
So what you initially see as you start to navigate the directory trees and everything there is you see physical plant operations, you see security, you see droid lab facilities, and you see computer core.
Droid lab facilities?
As you enter that, you can see as a layout on the map in the dead center of the facility, which from you walking around can tell is the large circular area in the center, which you have not been to yet. There is the heart of the droid lab. There is a few entries there. There are a number of infantry type droid soldiers that are being constructed. There are a few classic model Arakyd Viper probe droids that are being constructed and worked on there, and there is a file marked Remus.
I suppose that's what I'm looking for. Is that also where the mainframe is?
That is literally what you're looking for. Just so you know.
After
Yeah.
Go ahead and make a hard computers check for trying to slice into details on the central core.
It is going to be an average difficulty for me because Codebreaker reduces the difficulty.
Boom, do it.
Oh.
Okay, so you did roll 2 failure and 2 advantage. So what you actually did was, as you try and figure out like how to access details about the core, and you can't from this terminal. You can tell that the core seems to be in the room north of you based on what you can read from power distributions in the facility, but you're overridden from accessing any of its central functions. You can tell from your advantage that the Remus project files that are actively open in the droid lab are actually real-time transmitting to the computer core and are being communicated out of the facility by the large sort of satellite transmitter. So there's sort of a real-time data feed that's being sent out somewhere from whatever they're doing in the lab.
You can do it, Vic.
All right. I am going to... This guy over here, is he paying attention to me at all?
At the moment, he's just standing there, staring forward.
All right, I will misdirect him in effort to just move over to the computer core.
Okay, so roll a force dice, please. 1 dark side point. Are you using that?
I'll take the strain, yeah.
Okay, so 1 conflict, 1 strain. I'll add the conflict, you add the strain. He can no longer see you. You walk to the security door. It is, at the moment, not locked, and as you walk to the door, it slides open, revealing to you a huge bank of servers that are all connected to a glowing central core, and you can see sort of this cascading kind of energy running through all the cables towards the central core.
I assume this is where I need to be to do my slicing and my various nefarious planting bugs, etc. Right?
Yes.
That
And as you
jives
walk
my
in that
understanding.
room, we're going to transfer over to Jensa, because the guard seemingly remembers he forgot his pistol and starts walking back towards the ship. The gangplank is no longer down, but you hear him outside going, "Excuse me, ma'am." And he's sort of banging on the back of the ship. You hear like this thunk, 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 thunk.
Oh, hey! Can we crack this thing just to toss it out?
You slide the chain like a hotel room door, and you slightly open the gangplank.
Basically.
Okay, so you activate the gangplank. It goes down just slightly, so you can kind of see the rain out there, and you see his face around the corner. He kind of peeks around the side, and he's like, "Hey, cutie, how you doing? I forgot my blaster pistol in there. Can I come in?"
I think you might have left this, and I'm going to hold it up on my, finger. Might have left this on the coffee table.
Oh, thank you.
I was hoping you would notice.
I did. Can I come in?
Here you go. No, I gotta slide it through. Actually, my boss is on the line. I gotta go, but.
Oh, yes. No, totally cool. Okay, no problem.
It's good to see you again. I'm just gonna hand it to him, and then I'm gonna shut it, and then I'm gonna go back to.
He walks in, he stands on the walkway, and he kind of just stands there, and he's looking back at the ship, and he's kind of acting like he's doing his job, but he doesn't want to leave.
Lost puppy out there.
What a creepo, man.
By the way,
Man,
is anyone in the boardroom in the?
I have no idea unless anyone says anything over the comms. I have no idea anything other than fines.
Yeah, I don't think anyone said anything. So, are any of you? We're gonna go back to Ishvar and Tyrus.
I'm gonna go back to talking to the Jedi Master about like my trust issues with people around me, and if that's a bad thing. She's like,
So
what do I do with this? That kind of
Yeah, by the way,
Basically
Jen, so
trying
you're
to
enjoying this
hard
wonderful leisurely discussion with Master Nguyen, and even though you know he's sort of an artificial construct of Master Nguyen, you really relish this moment because you've not ever had enough time alone with him as you would have liked, and you're having this opportunity for him to kind of discuss with you some of the rudiments and fundamentals of what you might have learned if you ever really had the training at the temple that you could have.
Oh, yes, you would love
And
that conversation.
You are just, you're just at this incredible moment of enjoyment at this, and you sort of are tuning the world out around you for the moment. And as we go back to the CEO's
and then
office,
Dick shows up to try and ruin it all.
as the sliced apart Mr. Mech, the CEO, is laying on the floor, you can feel a game of cat and mouse unfolding, where nothing overtly aggressive besides that has happened, but you know whoever this is nearby.
Wait, so we see the cat guy in the room, and he's basically telling us to join forces with him. Is that correct?
No, he made you no offer. He sensed Tyrus's ability to reach out to the Force, and all you can tell is an act of horrible violence in front of you, and then you thought what might have unfolded into a fight, and he merely disappeared, and you hear laughter.
He said,
I see.
let's see if you can get out of here alive, and disappeared after making Tyrus look pain and killing that guy. Ishwar looks to the ceiling. Is there like sprinklers or some kind of fire suppression?
There would be a fire suppression system here, given the type of
So,
work they do.
Are they sticking out? Or would
what
I
you see
need
above
to
you,
blast
you
it
would
all?
recognize these because I think it would be just kind of common knowledge to anyone living in that time. But there are sort of these small dome vents where these gases would be kind of extruded to smother fires.
So he hits one of those if he can and tries to
with
break
what?
it. Like how tall is the ceiling?
The ceiling would be about 8.5 to 10 feet. So I guess for you,
Okay,
that's
so
just a
Can
slight
he
jump.
only reach up and just pull it off with his strength? Yeah.
So right as you're leaping up to do that, the guard walks into the room that had left the room previously. And he sees Mr. Mech on the floor and looks at you guys and says, "What the fuck?" And as you do that, you smack the fire suppression system, and you hear a high-pitched shrill buzz, and all of a sudden, all this gas starts filling up the room. Any attempt at stealth checks or will have 2 boost dice. Any perception checks will have 2 setback dice.
Okay, and at this point, where we've been framed, he will just, if I'm allowed to, if that was just my movement or my whatever the equivalent is here, I'll slash the shit out of it.
Okay, so we're gonna enter combat then. So, whoops, that's too loud.
Oh, I didn't
we're
have my
gonna-
music up. I'm a dummy.
All right, so we're gonna roll initiative. Now, question is, current time, do we want to continue now or hold it here? I'd leave it up to you guys.
I'm up for going a little bit longer.
Okay.
I can go.
Continue.
I can go a little bit longer.
I know
All
Jen's is kind of on the back burner tonight, but I'd like to get to the getaway driving.
All right, so what we're gonna do is, for any of those who've never rolled initiative before, you look on your character sheet on the main tab. You are deciding the pace of battle because you started the combat. So you'll see a little box that says initiative, and you'll see cool there. You'll be clicking on that gray dice right there. I still am blank on one person. If anyone
So many
didn't.
force users are running around.
Tyrus
I'm actually
hasn't rolled yet.
I'm disappointed in Darth
okay.
Vader and the Emperor for letting us run around
already.
so much.
Didn't go.
They haven't had adequate time yet to root you guys out and kill you all yet.
Yeah, there was a lot of
Yeah.
Force Jedi that survived 66. Well, I wouldn't say a lot, but several
Okay.
handful.
Well,
Who
We're
in
in
the
the corporate
room
sector.
is acting first? I think it was Ishwar based on what we said, right?
Oh yeah, this
Probably.
guy's getting vibro-axed.
Okay, so you pull off your vibro axe, correct?
Yeah, and just cleave right into him if I can. And what's my
Ouch.
role on that? Is that my
Okay,
brawl?
so you open your character sheet, go to your combat tab, and you see your vibro axe on the bottom.
I do. Just click it, drag it over.
Double click it, and for a melee attack in engaged range, it's 2 purple dice. And then roll it. Okay, so
Nice.
you score a success, advantage, and a triumph, which means an instant critical as well.
That's 34 damage plus.
What?
I cut that guy in half
wait, let me see one thing really fast.
because it's vicious 3.
What's your brawn? So the damage is actually. Let me make sure I have this entered correct in your.
Oh wait, that might be just 4 damage. So it might be 34 damage.
But for Vibrax, the damage is brawn plus 3, correct? So your brawn is 3.
It's 3.
All right, so let me adjust. I want to make sure the damage is correct on the weapon. It's actually 6 damage, so. Okay,
6.
so you actually scored 7 damage and a critical hit.
And it ignores 2 points of soak, and so it's
Oh,
vicious
wow.
3. So it's 30 damage plus 6. So 37 rather.
Wait, not 30, not 30. So you ignore 3 points of soak. You're just to
points.
run. Okay, 2 points of soak. So he has a soak of 3. You negate 2 of that. You rolled damage, 1 success. So you get the listed damage plus 1, and you get a critical hit. And tell me what vicious is again. I think it's
Vicious adds plus 30 to it's because plus 10 for each vicious to
to the
injury
critical roll.
rolls.
To the critical roll.
yeah, so
Okay.
the crit roll, which is
God.
D100 roll.
Yeah.
Okay, so I will take care of that in just a second. So
Oh, I see what you're. I misunderstood. I just accepted that as damage. Okay. Do the system, fellas.
all right, so you cut. First of all, let me roll the critical.
I mean, if he rolls like a 70 or higher, you pretty much you cut him in half.
No, he gained 7 damage, didn't he?
97.
Okay, so actually, this guy. Let me see the personal critical list. All right, 97. So, oh my God, yeah. One limb is impaired until healed or replaced, and he gets all difficulties to check with that limb.
Replaced.
So as you, cybernetics, remember, exist in this time. Okay, so as you swing that vibro axe around, which, by the way, for everyone in the party, he has stated is around 5 to 6 feet in length. So this is a two-handed weapon that this hulking form swings around, and you lodge it so far into his shoulder that his right arm kind of dangles uselessly by its side, sort of barely still attached by some loose tendons. And he drops his weapon on the ground and falls to his leg, clearly in shock. He's not dead. He's gushing blood out of the wound, and the arm is completely non-functional as he reaches with his other arm across to sort of pull it back up to his body in sort of horror.
It also, I don't think it's going to matter at this point, but it also has Sunder, so it would. I mean, he's already dropped his weapon, but
Yeah,
that's
he's
an
disarmed
item you
at the
forgot to
moment.
forgot to put that.
He's disarmed.
Oh,
No pun intended.
shit.
All right,
That's a
next,
great pun.
Next party player slot in the room. Who wants to go? Up to you guys.
Go ahead, Tyrus.
I have a migraine. What am I supposed to do?
You can do whatever you want. It's just any type of check will have 2 black dice as a penalty because you have a splitting, blinding headache.
Yeah, Ishvar's kind of like, get up, kind of like urging you. You gotta, with his body language.
But if I understand the threat, there's a mysterious 2-ended lightsaber man running around, and there's one man that's been rendered into pudding.
2 now.
So who else is in the room with us?
That's it right now. You've heard alarms go off overhead, so the crap has effectively hit the fan. And
but
it's
I'm
your
seeing
turn to act.
Are there 2 other figures in the room with us, or just us 3?
Nope, it is just the dead body of Mr. Mech on the floor. You see the guard with the arm hang off his shoulder, and that's all that's in the room that you can tell.
Can we do a vigilance check about who's outside?
You could do a perception check, but you'd have to walk to the door, of course.
Okay.
And by the way, you'll be walking right next to this guard who's hemorrhaging out right in front of you.
I kick him in the good arm. It's okay.
Okay, you kind of knock him to the side as you walk to the door. Go ahead and roll an average perception check, please. All you see is a guy standing by the table who's looking around alarmed, like, what's going on? He looks at you kind of like making just, what's going on? What's this alarm?
So I think we need to draw weapons.
Well,
Yes, so-
I know what I would want to say, but okay.
Well, this is just a coming around to the guy with the big forehead. So.
I know.
So Tyrus, for the first time,
Kip
you
has
actually...
a blaster, correct?
I do.
Yeah.
One on the floor if you need it.
Yeah. Kip steps up. He picks up the blaster. He has his own 2-handed blaster, which is not a blaster anymore. But he understands what it does. He picks up the other one. He moves forward and he says, "We are under attack by a lightsaber wielding individual."
You're saying that into the comlink?
I say that into the comlink and to the guy who's saying what's happening.
Oh,
He's
you're
saying that
talking to
in
the employee. Okay.
Yes, but I also turned on my comlink so that
I hear it.
whoever is listening can hear us.
Okay, so Victor can.
And Kip, can you upgrade any of these weapons?
I'll take the next open initiative slot.
Okay, so Tyrus, let's resolve what's left of your turn. So you made a maneuver to the door. You did a perception check, and you did say you were going to draw your weapons. So for the first
My
time,
action is to draw my weapon.
for the first time since you've had it, I believe, you pull Tal Shandir from your belt and examine the extremely ornamented hilt for a moment as you activate the blade.
Au contraire, I've examined its hilt many times.
And as you activate it, of course, you see the extremely ornate and looping quillins as kind of looking like a rapier as the energy swirls kind of around your hand into a basket, and the glowing blade is activated. As you do that, the poor employee standing in there just drops everything he has and runs out of the room. As we will now move to Jensa.
All right, so I hear that on the comms. Are there any outward visible effects of any sort of combat going on?
Not that you can
Like
tell.
any windows flashing up where I can see?
Although through the cockpit glass, you see some external red, sort of siren-style lights blinking to say the facility is sort of under alert right now. And you can see the guard who's kind of toolishly standing by the ship, like waiting for some interaction with you, kind of turn around for a moment and suddenly looked panicked, and he runs towards the door.
And just real quick, because I've had a while to kind of stare at this facility. I was hoping this would all go smoothly, but is there like a visible control tower where they're like watching my ship?
You do see some upper level windows and such, and there's a large antenna array, and around the antenna array there is a guard tower. At the moment, you're not seeing any unusual activity from it, but you have to imagine that you're being watched.
And I'm kind of pointed in a way that the ship is kind of pointed towards the hangar bay doors too. Is there anything obvious? Are they closed? Are they opened? Is there anything obvious going on?
The hangar bay doors at the moment are open with the force field activated, so you see like a glowing blue force field, so you can kind of see a little into the room, but your vantage point's awkward, so you can kind of only see the wall across. When the siren alarms kind of go off, you do kind of make out some flickering lights in there, but you can't see much else because remember there's sort of a heavy storm going on at the moment.
Okay, if I power up the weapon systems, will that be recognizable to somebody in the control tower?
Most likely, yes.
Blow the control tower away, girl.
That's what I'm thinking about doing.
Damn.
Well, they're being attacked with a lightsaber. I'm just going to assume something awful happened and somehow the negotiations fell. So this shit just got real. I am going to flip weapons hot and try to just go straight the up and just unleash on the sensors array and the control tower.
Okay, real fast question. When you say straight the fuck up, are you taking off or are you staying on the pad and firing?
Can I move and fire? Because yes.
Good question. So I suppose that would be two different actions. So you'd have to pick either remotely controlling the turret or taking off from the pad for this turn.
I've got a clean shot, right?
Yeah, you do.
I will shoot. But I'm, flipping the switches to get the ignition going and then just grabbing the guns, pointing it straight at the array. This is not my strongest skill. But I feel like sensor arrays is also how they probably communicate to, scrambled TIE fighters from like a space station or something. So that would maybe hopefully take out their communications as well.
All right,
and
so
if
go
it's
ahead
their control
and
tower facility, it'll just wreak havoc in general. So
go ahead and open the starship icon in the upper left-hand corner. On the ship, you should see under the weapon at the bottom, you see laser cannon medium.
Yep.
You'll be clicking on that, and given the range, it is just...
they should be in short range and...
Extremely short range, effectively point-blank range.
It's not like they're moving.
So it's an easy difficulty, 1 purple dice. Okay, so
4 successes.
You roll 4 successes, and by the way, you're firing a ship's cannon, so this is essentially vehicle scale weapons. So this is a different order of level of damage. This is, like on a player, this would be sort of like 10 times that damage. So on the structure,
if I shot a player with the ship's lasers, I would assume they would disintegrate.
Yeah, most likely. If you rolled like that and you did, yeah, it would probably be fatal. So you're firing at what part of the complex, just so I understand?
Basically the whole array in the control tower, like all that crap on top that.
Okay, so the
communicating off and internally, like their power structure, basically. If I can take that communication array down, the array on top of the.
Okay, so as you fire on the ship there, on the facility there, you very easily kind of connect with... We don't need the lightsaber sounds. Okay, so you kind of connect very easily with the tower. You rake across it with the turret guns, and as you do, you see a series of explosions on the outer structure. The telemetry tower kind of crumbles and falls over to one side due to the structural damage, and the entire dish crumbles, hits the rocks, and falls into the stormy seas. as a fire breaks out on the upper level. So now there is an active fire in the building, which will progress every round.
So is there a response to Kip's announcement that we're being attacked by a lightsaber? The whole building shakes and the lights flash off.
Yeah, all of you hear that there's like a flickering on the inside as the lights flicker on and off a few times, and then all of a sudden you just hear this thunderous explosion. And Victor, in the computer core, you see one of the server banks kind of go from light blue to red as all of the systems on that particular bank go offline. And we move to the next party initiative slot, which will be who?
Bior?
Your shit.
Yeah, I guess me.
Bior. Yeah.
So hearing all of this that's going on, I'm gonna assume that things have gone south. So
Fair assumption.
It's a good assumption.
Good assumption.
So I basically walk close enough to this door so that it opens until I notice that guy, and then I try to just force push that guy into the door to the north.
All right, very good. So he's actually going to go next after you. Bior, you're going to use your force move ability, correct?
Yeah.
All right, so roll your force dice commensurate with your force rating. I think 2 force dice. Now you rolled 1 light side, 1 dark side point, so you have enough to activate the power to move a small object. Do you want to use the dark side point?
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Go ahead and add for me 1 strain to your character sheet.
Every time somebody rolls a dark side point and they do it, I just hear the Emperor from do it.
All right, so as you pick him up and you're going to throw him against the wall, correct?
I wouldn't even pick him up. I would just like thrust him into the wall.
Okay, so with the force that you thrust him against the wall, given his size and the force with which you thrust him into the wall, he takes 10 damage as his body thuds brutally against the bulkhead of the door behind him. So he kind of cracks his head on the back of the thing as you see like a blood streak like spatter on the wall behind him, and he kind of slumps to the ground for a second, and then he kind of stands up and shakes his head. He's sort of a little dazed for a moment, so he's going to have a setback dice to his next attack roll. You still have a maneuver if you want to use it. If you haven't moved yet, I don't think you've moved yet.
Yeah, no, I run right up to him.
Oh, okay. So you are right next to him. To everyone else in the group, I may not have mentioned, I think Victor might remember this, but you can use your maneuvers other than moving. You can use them to aim to give yourself boost dice on attacks. In fact, I'm going to just send everybody the combat reference to some of the newer players real fast. So real fast on that, you'll see under maneuvers, you can aim, which takes 1 maneuver, and it lets you add a boost dice to the next combat check. And you could look this over when you have time, but... okay, Bior, you're standing right next to him. It's his turn now. He is going to take a combat roll against you. He pulls his blaster out, tries to fire it. You're at close range, which is awkward for him. He's going to have 2 setback dice, including the dazing that he had before. He misses over your shoulder, hits the wall behind you. He's freaked out. He's dazed from the hit to the back of his head. And his turn is over. We're jumping to a party player slot.
There's only one who has gone. Yeah.
It's only me.
And
Question
Kip, I believe.
for...
There's Kip, too.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I'm sorry. Kip, did you want to go?
No, I acted. I was the one who alerted everyone to the...
Oh, you did? Okay.
That we were attacked, yeah.
All right. So, is it fair to say that I had any time whatsoever to attempt to slice this computer before the shit went down?
No, this was all contemporaneous with you
I
kind of
literally walked into the room and everything goes right.
Yes, unfortunately so.
Do I know that that means that these are completely inaccessible?
They are not completely inaccessible. You can still make normal checks with your slicing as you would otherwise.
Okay.
There's a giant.
Well, I have little time and a whole lot to do. So, I am going to use the data spike. It reduces the difficulty of the check by 2. I am trying to get the highest clearance, the fastest route possible, and grabbing the most exclusive and restricted files.
Okay.
That is my aim. I'm using the data spike, and I also have a significant codebreaker abilities and computers.
So as you start to hack into the slice, sorry, I have to use the right terminology. Slice into the central core.
Slicing here, guys.
You realize you've hit the motherlode. I mean, you are in the brain center of this entire complex. There's so much data available in there that you don't even really know where to start. Just directory upon directory upon directory of covert files on all kinds of projects that they're doing. The anti-intrusion software is industry state-of-the-art, and as you remember from Gellis mentioned to you, they've installed a data breaker system here which protects the computer against intrusions. So if you successfully manage to dismantle the security and gain access to the system, you will be able to take the data breaker with you. For your initial check here to break into the highest security files, you're going to be rolling 3 purple dice on your computer's check and 2 red dice.
All right, and so I also have my difficulty drops by 3, so I get 1 for codebreaker and 2 for the data spike. How best do I represent?
Okay, make sure you expend and remove the data spike from your inventory as it's a single-use item. So when you construct the dice pool in the dice box, you're going to hit the red minus 3 times.
Wow.
And what is it? 3 purple and 2 red?
3 purple and 2 red. And if I'm not mistaken, your data spike allows you to do this as a maneuver, correct?
Oh shit! Nice.
Yes, instead of an action.
Yeah.
That's huge, man.
Sorry, I'm having trouble getting this right. Skill. 3 purple. 2 red. Minus, minus, minus. Okay. When I press the minus the 3rd time, nothing happened.
Oh, okay.
Correct?
So what you're going to do is remove one of the purple dice. So it's going to be 2 purple dice. Wow, you're neutering my challenges here.
Hey, man. He spent credits on those things.
Oh, 3 successes and 3 threat.
Okay, so as you begin to expertly navigate the system, this is probably one of the best quality defensive systems that you've seen, and you actually admire a little bit the technology as the data breaker seems to be anticipating your maneuvers and keeping 1 step ahead of you, but you're able to sort of invade a subroutine and disable the AI of the data breaker, and you manage to get past the initial set of defenses as you gain access to the currently highest level project in the facility, the Remus device, which you can see was being actively transmitted up to the point where you saw there was a transmission failure, which you presume is from whatever damaged the facility a moment ago. And it was about 50% complete with the data transfer. you currently are able to sort of, with the check you just made, you're currently able to download and delete those particular files with this single check.
All right, so this is a maneuver. I'm not clear as to whether or not I also get the data breaker in this case. Am I able to integrate?
Not yet.
But I did purge the core.
You purged the core of the Remus file specifically and downloaded the data specifically for that on your data pad. The remainder of the data has not been interacted with yet.
Okay, so that was my maneuver. So for my action, I'm going to continue slicing to retrieve the data.
Okay, specifically, what are you interested in? Just any sensitive data, or are you interacting with any of the systems in the facility?
Well, I was trying to get the data breaker AI.
Okay, so you're trying to get the data breaker AI. This time, you're going to make a you've kind of circumvented the data breaker itself, so you're currently just making a hard computers check.
All right, which goes down to average because of my code break.
Oh.
So, interestingly, despite your expert attempts to try and sort of free the data breaker from the surrounding sort of security measures, you can't quite figure out how to free it without damaging or destroying the equipment. And we're going to jump over to a NPC slot.
Can I take a comm action?
A what? Sorry?
A comm action. I'm gonna, as I'm doing this, gonna state on the comm, the Remus hardware is in the droid facility, which is in the center of the building.
Out of character.
Look for an access point.
Okay, out of character. I can't remember. Our goal, I thought, was simply to get the data, clear it from their memory banks, and get out. So.
And get the technology.
There's a piece of hardware too.
There's a piece of
Okay,
hardware
we also need to grab it.
Yes,
Okay.
the hardware's in the droid facility. It's in the center of the build, central to the building.
Okay.
Look for an
All right.
Victor, at the conclusion of your turn in the round, you hear the bulkhead of the door behind you slam shut, and you see 2 additional layers of Durasteel security door close behind you. As you were seeing that, there was the security guard outside that was running towards the door to see what was going on, but he is now closed out of the room.
So, Kip
Yes.
is going to run.
It's currently a NPC turn.
Okay, go ahead.
One of the guards is going to run towards Bior and enter the room that he's in, and he is going to take an attack roll. He levels his blaster at you, Bior, and pulls the trigger. And as he fires, he sucks. He misses, but as he misses, he kind of rolls over towards the door frame and takes an advantageous position. So the next roll, he's going to get a boost dice against the attack against you in an attack.
He survives.
Ain't nobody hit you, Bior. Okay, back to a party player slot, which has to be Kip actually. So go ahead, Kip. What are you doing?
Kip is going to run to a door panel. He's going to attempt to slice the system such that doors randomly open and close, and that the gas that the sort of whatever, like the fire suppression system also just randomly goes off and on. So basically, he's attempting to just sort of turn on systems and have them just sort of run amok.
Everything's going haywire, I guess.
Yeah.
Hard computers check for me, please. We'll say that you use the terminal at the CEO's desk, so you would have access. Hard computers check, please.
Okay, so computers. Okay, hang on a second. And hard is 3, right?
Yes, 3.
Cross your fingers.
Hell
Okay.
yeah.
So actually, you do not have any net successes, so you don't succeed in tampering with the system. However, you creating a second point of intrusion divides the attention of the security software, and Victor's next slicing attempt will get 2 boost dice.
Excellent.
Nice.
And this brings us to an NPC slot. We have another guard enters the room, the CEO's desk room, surveying the scene, look of horror on his face as he sees his CEO sort of bisected on the floor, and he turns and sees the blood-covered vibro axe of Ishwar as he levels his weapon. He is firing a blaster rifle at you, Ishwar, which he perceives to be the greatest threat in the room.
Let me look at my ability really quick here.
Okay.
134 on the movie. Okay, never mind, because it's a maneuver. I can't do it till my turn. Go ahead.
And he fires with the blaster rifle, and he hits you, doing 12 damage. He gets 1 advantage, which, let's see what he does. He's going to get a boost dice on his next attack.
Should he have taken any of the, because the room is filled with smoke, should he have taken setback dice?
Ooh,
Oh,
you're
yeah.
right. Ooh, snap.
yeah.
Okay, hang on. Alright, he adds 1 failure. So actually the damage is reduced by 1. Okay, so Ishwar, he hits you with the blaster rifle, which kind of rakes the fire across your shoulder, burning this fur off your skin. And you are sort of mildly injured. What I'm going to say here, actually, given the time, is we're going to preserve this initiative order right here, and we're going to pick up in combat the next session. Let me quiet down our lovely environmental music. Very good. So I'm going to preserve the initiative order just like this. We'll keep the map like it is. Good session, everybody. Thank you very much. Hope you had fun.
Thank you. That was a lot of fun.
That was fun.
And that wraps up our show for this evening. We hope you enjoyed it. Join us next time in approximately 2 weeks, when in episode 19 we will follow our heroes as they conclude this Arakyd heist. Hope you have a great week. We'll see you soon.